Hello, YouTube, and welcome to the Real Siberius live stream. On this episode, I do want to talk about why do why do fans defend the players that hate them? Real quick, I just kind of want to rattle off my spiel here, and then we'll get into it. To me, fandom is a two-way street. It is respect given and received on both ends. We respect the players for the way they play the game, for their accomplishments, for their constant strive towards greatness. In turn, they should respect us for our commitment to the game, for our loyalty, for our investment. We dedicate our time, our energy, our heart just as they do. However, we also contribute a financial element that they don't. We aren't paid to play the game, we pay to watch it. We aren't given endorsements, we pay money for our apparel and our memorabilia. I have freely given my time, my money, and myself to this game, and there are those that spit in my face. They claim my opinion carries no weight, my contribution holds no value. I should simply worship them because they grace me with their presence, which apparently should be considered an honor given how often they just don't show up. They say I should respect the modern game because I'm too stupid to understand it. They lower the standards, they move the goalposts, but I'm the problem. I need to be teached to love the game. I'm sorry, but I love the game. Loved the game. I say loved because it's past tense. They destroyed the game I loved, and I'm supposed to thank them for it? I don't think so. I don't bow down to anyone. I don't fruitlessly dole out respect to those that have done nothing to earn it, and certainly don't respect those that have no respect for me. I have earned my respect with my time, with my sacrifice, with my love and devotion to the game that no longer has any. So I ask, why are there those that defend those that attack them? Why do you mindlessly worship those that aren't worthy of praise, let alone worship? Why do you defend those whose behavior and play on the court is indefensible? Fanboys and modern NBA apologists alike sully themselves in some false hope of recognition or validation from individuals who don't respect them enough to show up and play the game they're paid millions of dollars to play. To individuals that sneer at your outstretched hand when they walk by, if you're foolish enough to spend your money to go to a game they likely won't even bother playing in. You confront and condemn me for calling out their hypocrisy. You call me a hater and question my character, and that yet you defend those that don't care about you or the game. The difference is, unlike the players of today, I don't seek your praise or validation. I don't seek your input or counsel. I do wish you would respect yourselves, respect the game, respect sportsmanship, integrity, and competition, respect what the players of the past did for the game, and uphold the standards that they set. But I can't control whether you do or won't. It just makes me sad. Excuse me. When individuals act deplorable and then people defend them and stand by them when you're one of the people that they're spitting on. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Anyway, now that my spiel is over, what do you guys want to talk about? Excuse me. I'm sorry, guys. I still have this stupid dry cough. So if you hear the cough drop in my mouth or my stupid coughing, I do apologize. Joel also says it's crazy that any man would call another man my king. There's something psychologically going on there that I'm not even sure Sigmund Freud could figure out. Woodage, I did watch WrestleMania. Day one was a little bit lackluster, but day two was actually pretty enjoyable. Joel also said, you heard about Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley made up and are friends again. Yeah, I heard that they were going to play golf. And I hope that that it continues. I'd love to see him do interviews. I'd love to see him, commentate together, anything. I also hope that Barkley will pull Jordan's head out of his ass and he'll stop all of this glazing for the modern NBA. Because I love Jordan. I respect him, but a lot of his recent takes are bullshit. And I don't care if he's the GOAT. I'm not going to tolerate any of that shit. It genuinely makes me sick. The fact that he apparently called Bam Adebayo to congratulate him on his 83-point game. He should have called him and told him to go fuck himself, because that 83-point game was an embarrassment and a sham. And to call him up and congratulate him, nope. Lost respect for Jordan. When he said KD and LeBron elevated the game, nope. No respect for Jordan. I'm not a fucking sycophant. Just because I'm your fan doesn't mean I'll blindly follow whatever the fuck you say. If Jordan says stupid shit, I'm going to call him out on it. He certainly doesn't sound like the guy who used to take shit personal. I want that guy back. Yeah, I'm not just going to glaze for anyone. Now, regardless of what he says, does it change how I feel about him playing basketball? Absolutely not. I also, despite what many may think or say, I actually am an optimist. In my entire life, I am an optimist. I always try to look for the positive in any situation. The reason why I don't voice that on my channel is because I don't see anything positive about the modern NBA. But I am always going to be real about it. Sorry, guys. I keep getting stupid notifications and it keeps distracting me. I'm going to turn my phone over so I can't see it. I think positivity is important, but it can become toxic positivity when you're unwilling to acknowledge the problems that the modern NBA faces and all you're doing is looking at the positive. That's not going to fix anything. Your refusal to acknowledge or address issues isn't going to fix anything. Sweeping them under the rug isn't going to fix anything. If anything, Jordan is the one who should be beyond reproach. He should be able to say whatever he wants, wherever he wants, whenever he wants. And because of what he did for the game, everybody should just have to shut up and listen. JXY said, too much positivity creates a form of delusion because it's not addressing the problem. That's exactly it. That's exactly what it is. I'm all for positivity, even when looking at the negative and say, hey, these are the problems. This is how we can address it. I made two videos on 10 problems with the modern NBA, 10 more problems with the modern NBA. And because I want to be a part of the fucking solution, I also made a video 10 ways to fix the NBA. Now, does it mean people have to listen to me? No, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. That's just the way that it is. But I can certainly state my opinion. I'm trying to address problems and create solutions. And I think everyone should do that. I don't want to just be a person that's just shitting on it because I want it to be better. I want to watch basketball again. I tried watching the playoffs. And I'm not going to lie. I'm still disappointed because nothing has changed. They've addressed none of the problems. The fact that they allow them to play slightly more aggressive defense isn't fixing the no defense problem. Excuse me. JXY said Jokic better than Jordan. Kids say no to drugs. This Jokic nonsense, I mean, the reality is they've just become fanboy 2.0. They don't want to live in reality. They don't want to address the issues. They don't want to critique or criticize in any way. And if you do, you're just immediately a hater. The reality is, at this point, that's a moniker that I wear proudly. If you're calling me a hater because of the things that I say, you're clearly not fucking listening. I just said I want to make the game better so I can enjoy it. I've never heard any of you fanboys, whether it be of LeBron, Jokic, Curry, whoever, say that. Those words have never come out of your mouth. I want better, and not just for myself, for all fans, for the fucking players, for the league, everyone. Sometimes this channel's hard because I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle. People don't want change. People don't want growth. They don't want improvement. They just want the same shit. They don't care. They just make excuses. They make justifications. They'll dismiss any negative behavior. Woodage says, you want the players to play more, pay them by games played. I definitely think that would help. What's funny is that's on my list of ways to improve the NBA. No guaranteed contracts. All contracts are performance based and game attendance based. Plain and simple. If you want to get paid, you better be putting up numbers and not garbage time numbers, impactful numbers, statistics that help your team win. Geloso said, I did a video comparing the Joker versus Jordan, and it's not even close, but the Joker fans are delusional. And they're, like I said, they're just as bad as LeBron fans. It's absolutely ridiculous. Would it say shoe deals, give them a percentage by the amount of shoes they sell? That would also be great. Or any product that they're endorsing. First of all, I think any product that you endorse, you better be fucking wearing. You better be supporting that product on the court. So if you have an Adidas shoe deal, you better be wearing fucking Adidas. If I see you wearing Jordans, nope, no more. If you're, wearing some fucking support sleeve or wristband or whatever, if you make money from it, and then you better be winning. It's not just good enough just to wear it. Excuse me. Joel said the real, did you see? I did video on Bronny's shoes. How disgusting they look. Somehow they're even worse than LeBron's. And LeBron's shoes are fucking hideous. I have to imagine that LeBron had something to do with that, and he's not going to let Bronny's shoes look better than his, so he had to make them look worse, which is an accomplishment because they're fucking bad. Would God damn it. Seriously, guys, I'm sorry about this stupid cough. I hope it's not too off-putting. JXY says MJ wore the flag over the Adidas logo on the Dream Team. It was Reebok, but I know what you mean. Yeah, apparently Bronny has shoes. A 55th pick with a shoe deal, and the guy averages 2 points per game. What kind of a sick fucking world are we living in? And then you hear all the LeBron Bronny fanboys talking about he earned this. Did he? Joel also said, imagine if Jordan would have signed his deal with Adidas instead of Nike. He wanted to. That's the crazy thing is he wanted to sign with Adidas, and they're like, no, we can't really make that happen. Well, Adidas has almost slid into irrelevancy. I mean, I guess they still have a fairly, strong hold on soccer, but other than that, I don't really see a lot of Adidas out there. Other than the Sambas or whatever. States Cal said Bronny should name his shoes Good Soul. I mean, they don't have anything else to offer. Joseph said Michael Jordan's brand with Nike makes $3 billion a year with a capital B. It's funny because I pointed that out in the video that I made. You call us haters, but I ask, where is your love? I was pointing out that LeBron's fans, they don't watch his games. They don't buy his shoes. They don't see his movies. All they do is support him in YouTube comment sections. And I pointed out in that video, LeBron sells shoes in the millions. Jordan sells shoes in the billions. That's a big fucking difference. Shades Cal, I do blame him because he is in his 20s. And by the time I was in my 20s, if my dad tried to pull that shit, I just would have told him to go to hell. So he is to blame. However, I'm Gen X. He's fucking Gen Z. So he doesn't have the stones to stand up to anyone. So I guess I can't blame him for that. But he's also continuing this charade. He absolutely could have played 1 year and decided, yeah, this isn't really working out the way that I thought. So I'm just going to go ahead and go play Call of Duty, which is exactly what he should do. If he signed, because I think his contract is up, or he's either getting a raise, because I think now he makes $1 million a year or something, and it's about to bump up to 2.2 million. If he takes that, he's a fucking scumbag. I mean, the reality is it doesn't matter. As soon as LeBron retires, or if he goes to Cleveland, if that deal doesn't include Bronny, there's no way he's staying on the Lakers. Like, that's just not possible. They're not going to continue to pay him money when they don't have to. He offers nothing. I mean, I don't even know if you guys saw that video that I made about JJ Redick rolling his eyes 3 times in less than a minute when he was trying to praise Bronny. There's absolutely no way he gets to stay on that team. JXY said, I see LeBron shoes too in Burlington Coat Factory for clearance. I have. I've also seen them in Ross. I've seen them in TJ Maxx. I've seen them in all over the place, except for on people's feet and for full retail. Gelosa said, do you think Wemby will deliver in the playoffs? I hope he does. I mean, the reality is, I don't give a fuck about Wemby anymore. I was always a Bulls fan, but my second team was the Spurs. I was a huge Spurs fan. David Robinson, one of my all-time favorite players. Tim Duncan, one of my all-time favorite players. I don't think Wemby is upholding the standard that they set. He's already ducking smoke. He's already staying in games late to pad his stats. He's also, I don't know if he's fucking faking injuries, or I don't like him anymore. That's what it comes down to. Whatever the fuck Wemby does going forward, I don't care if he wins 8 chips, I still don't like him. Shades Cal, that's all that I want. He said, I will meet you halfway. He could have done just the initial ceremonial horse shit for his dad, and now it's time to bow the fuck out. Exactly. If you didn't have a say in it, I agree. But now you do. So figure it out. Either get good or leave. Those are your only 2 options. That's the saying that I wish had more merit in life, is get good. People constantly whine and bitch about how things aren't fair. Well, get good. Rude says, you have sneaker Siberians. I have a shit ton of sneakers. I wish I never got into them because it just takes a lot of my money. I think I have about 18 pairs of Jordans. I have a few pairs of Pippins. I have a few pairs of Rodmans. I have a few pairs of SB Dunks. Yeah, I am a shoe head and a big fan. I also like to sell them on the side. And I made the mistake of buying a pair of LeBrons to resell because I thought his fanboys would jump at it. This was early, I mean, this was years ago. I still haven't been able to sell them. I mean, I bought them for dirt cheap. They're a pretty rare pair. I paid around $60 for them. I figured I could turn around and sell them between 150 and 200. And the reality is, I'm probably going to lose money on them. Would have said I have wide feet, so I have to be careful what kind of shoes I get. So this is actually my problem. I have extra wide feet. Like I wear triple D in shoes. So the majority of the shoes that I have, I cannot wear. So if I could find triple D Nikes, I would wear a size 12 triple D. But I can't. And the only shoes that I can fit in is if I wear like a 14, but then I feel like I'm wearing fucking clown shoes. So a lot of my shoes just sit on my wall and look good, which makes me sad because I love shoes. I do. I absolutely love them. But being a crippled fuck, I can't really wear Nikes. That's just the harsh reality of it. So yeah, they just sit in the background and look good. Woodage said, I did hear the best Jordans for wide feet are 13 and 5. Wide feet shoes seem like they're going away. They absolutely feel like they're going away. I will also say Jordan 3s are actually pretty good for wides. So Jordan 3s, Jordan 5s, Jordan 13s, I would also agree, but I still have to go at least a half size up. So I would agree. JXY said, if you give a homeless man some LeBrons, he's going to cuss you out and throw them in the trash. He would too, because he'd know he can't sell them and get any money. Which says I got 3 pairs of new Converse weapons. I haven't even seen those. If they're pretty good for wide size feet, like even if I have to order a half size up, I'm all for that. But I like shoes. I think they look good. The reality is, I don't think Nike shoes are as good as they used to be. Given how many old Jordans I have, and I can still wear them for short periods of time. But I bought a pair of Kyries. I had to send them back because they just felt fucking cheap. Like they certainly don't feel like they're made with the same level of quality that they used to be made with. So yeah, I've started going with other brands of shoes. I was going to say I have some New Balance that I really like. They're also really nice because they do offer extra wide shoes. I've also just started wearing like a lot of hiking boots. So just different sizing entirely. Wood says, yeah, they've been saying Nike has went cheap on their shoes, incredibly cheap. So I bought that pair of Kyries in 2025 and I compared them to my Jordan, which ones are those? 4s. My Jordan 4s from 2012. So 13 years older, and they feel so much better. And Jordan 4s are even known for being slightly fragile, especially with the like webbing for the shoelace. Like that shit'll just crack off. Mine haven't cracked off. My Kyrie's, I wore them twice and they just look beat to shit. And I take care of my shoes. Like almost all of my shoes still almost look brand new, and some of them are older than LeBron fans. So JXY said, I still not understanding why Steph Curry wore LeBron shoes at the game. Excuse me. I can only hope it was meant to shade, like he was wearing LeBron's while he was load managing, like trying to throw an insult. Uh, but I don't know. The reality is, like, players today are all fanboys of each other. So I don't know. I would like to think that Steph Curry would be above that, but I don't put it against it. Like, it's entirely possible that him and LeBron are besties. I'd find that disgusting, but it's entirely possible. So speaking of shoes, this is crazy. So I was watching the Bill Russell documentary on Netflix called Legend, and all of those guys were wearing original fucking Chuck Taylors in the NBA. And I know that Converse was the brand of the NBA for an extended period of time. Wearing canvas Chuck Taylors to play basketball in, I just feel like I would break my fucking ankle if I tried to wear those shoes and play basketball. And all of them were playing in Chuck Taylors, which is just insane. See, yeah, Wooded said Will scored 100 points in Chucks. He did. That's fucking ludicrous. They have no support. They're flat-footed shoes. They're made of fucking canvas. They're basically mid tops, not even high tops. They offer no ankle support. I mean, I wore Chuck Taylors for a huge part of my adolescence, but I wasn't playing fucking basketball in them. That is crazy. That just made me had more respect for them. Rude said they are probably better than today's sneakers. That's probably true, which is just sad. Shadow188 said, I've worn Chucks and they ruin your feet. They do. I wore them in my teenage years because I don't know, I thought they were cool, but I had to stop because they're just not good for your feet. They literally offer no support for your feet at all. They're just for fashion. They're not to help at all. I loved them though. I mean, I probably had 10, 15 pairs throughout my life because they would, come in all of these crazy ass designs. Or especially back in the 80s and 90s, my friends and I would draw all over them or paint over them. And then it was like we had our own custom shoes. Which I always thought was cool. I liked having custom shoes. In your face hoops. What's up? I was going to say, thank you for tuning in, man. I appreciate that. So I said they won those hard ass flat Chuck Taylors and played 82 games while riding the bus. No private jets, no personal chefs, no high tech training technology, no 40, $50 million a year, no pillows. You got to talk about pillows because LeBron was bitching about pillows too. Shadow said Chucks are good if you use orthopedics. Yes, if you have custom insoles, they're not that bad. I mean, they're still an incredibly flat-footed shoe, like just naturally, regardless of insole. But yeah, if you put on If you put some custom insoles in there, you'll probably be all right. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm in my 50s now. I can't be wearing no shoes like that. I have to wear shoes that offer support. Here's advice: 3 things that you should spend an inordinate amount of money on as you get older. A fucking mattress, because it's where you spend the majority of your life is in bed, quality shoes, and a good couch. 3 things to invest your money in. In your face, who said multitasking, videos, the games, and I'm on your live. Let's get it. Oh, I wish I could see some quality basketball in these playoffs. If any of you happen to see a good game, hell, even a mediocre game, let me know and I'll watch. Shadow says socks are a must. I don't know why. Socks are hugely important. That's actually another thing you should spend quality money on. Cheap socks are just not good for your feet. JXY said the most comfortable J's I wore had to be either 7s or 5s. In my personal opinion, 5s are the most comfortable Jordan, period. It's not even close. I also think they're the best Jordans. And it could be because it was the very first pair of Jordans that I had. The 5s came out in 88. I was 12 years old and I worked my ass off to get those shoes. I must have mowed like 40 lawns. I had a paper route at the time, and those shoes were either $125 or $150. And in 1988, that was a shit ton of money. And I bought them happily. Not my parents bought them. I bought them. I wish I still had them, but the reality is I beat the fuck out of them because they were just shoes to me back then. I didn't learn to appreciate shoes until I was like 16 or 17. I just wore them the hell out. Woodard said flat and wide feet caused ankle problems, so arch support inserts and high top shoes are nice. That's all I can wear because I need the ankle support. I have ridiculously high arches. Instead of flat feet, I have the opposite problem. My arches are ridiculously high. Shadow says NHL hockey playoffs have been way more interesting and entertaining than what the NBA has right now. The Flyers and the Pens in a very interesting series so far. Battle of Pennsylvania. I started watching the NHL relatively recently. I think it was probably last year sometime, because I'm Seattle or in Seattle. I support the Kraken. I've been fortunate enough to go to a few games. Unfortunately, the Kraken are ass. I've seen them play a number of times. They're just a slow team. Their chase downs are ridiculous. I watched some hockey in the 80s and 90s, and it was a hell of a lot more physical. There were more fights and more hits, and they seem to get that out of hockey, which is disgusting. But I support the Kraken. I'm a big fan. I was going to say going to their games is great. I was going to say we don't have any teams anymore in Seattle that I support because I can't stand the fucking Seahawks. I don't give a shit about the Mariners because they're the James Harden of baseball teams. But I do like the Kraken. I was going to say I would like to see them go far. I'm just not entirely convinced that they will. Cottage says Siberius MLB is more entertaining than basketball, in my opinion. I agree. I think MLB is more interesting. I think NHL is more interesting. I would love to see more of both of those. Joseph said, I love animated cartoon socks. Dude, those are some of my favorite. I have some crazy ass old school Muppet socks, and I just love people's reactions when they see them because I'll wear them with like a suit or something, so you won't expect it at all. But yeah, if I put my leg up, you can see my crazy ass socks, and I like it. Shadow 188 says, young team first year for the postseason should be good for Seattle. Can't wait to see the rivalry that happens between the Canucks and Kraken. I'd love to see that rivalry. The reality is, I'd love to see any rivalry, period. I miss rivalry in sports. I don't want to see teams be friends. I want to see teams hate each other's guts and take it out on each other on the court or on the field or on the pitch or on the mound or wherever. I don't care. I just want to see competitive sports. Like LeBron fans would love to see the Lakers sweep the Rockets. I've never wanted to see a sweep in my entire life. I want it to be a series. I want them to earn the win, and I want the games to be close, and I want the series to go all the way if it has to. I like competition. I like the anticipation. I like the animosity that it creates. I just like a challenge. I'm not going to duck from a challenge. Wait, hold on. Nope, can't. Sorry, guys. PMR Hoops was actually messaging me in Discord, and I was just letting him know I'm doing a live. So hopefully he'll check in if he can. Yeah, man, I don't understand where people's love of competition has gone. And it does, I mean, I'm not even just talking about basketball. It just seems on a collective whole, people don't like competition anymore. I try to compete with everything. My brother and I, even though he's 18 years younger than I am and isn't brain damaged and crippled, we still compete on everything. We even compete on giving each other gifts or the amount of workouts that we do or playing fucking Overwatch together. We just compete. Everything. Everything is a fucking competition. PMR Hoops, what's up? Yeah, I have heard from a number of people that they just don't get notifications at all. On Saturday, uh, I clicked the notification on Sports and Fitness Rants and Angry Old Hoops, and I didn't get either notification. Clearly, YouTube is just here to fuck people. So JXY said, although the NFL changed the rules and officiating, I think the reason why they still get more views than the NBA is because the NFL players and fans still have that type of connection and respect. I hope so. I mean, the sad reality is I was a bigger NFL fan than I was an NBA fan, and I was a huge NBA fan. I don't watch the NFL anymore. I was a gigantic fan for 30 plus years. And unlike the NBA, I didn't take a break from 1984 to 2024. I watched so much goddamn football, but they finally just got to a point that they were just stealing defense from the game. And I can't stand that. It absolutely makes me sick. So I just stopped watching. And I have not watched an NFL game in years. In probably 2 years, I have not watched a single game. And it makes me sad because I fucking loved it. I loved it so much. I mean, I was the asshole that used to watch the draft. I used to watch the combine. I loved it. I loved absolutely everything about it. And just as the NBA changed the rules and the officiating to be completely in favor of the offense and especially the superstar, I don't know, that I can't abide. So, yeah, now the sport that I watch the most is probably NHL. And I'm still learning it. I never really watched a lot of hockey growing up, and I certainly didn't play it. So I don't know the game. I don't even necessarily know the rules. So I've bought a few books. I'm watching some videos on YouTube to try to educate myself. Excuse me. Because certainly the more you understand the game, the more joy you get from it. The more nuanced your understanding is, the more I comprehend, the more I can appreciate what I'm seeing. And I just don't have that. So I'm having to learn it. And it's a process, especially because there's a difference between understanding something in theory and understanding it in reality. So I can read about the blue line in a book, but then being able to understand and interpret it as it's happening live on the rink, that's entirely different. Joe also said, I'm so tired of Shannon Sharpe and Nick Wright. I did my research on them, and they were Jordan fanatics now for years. They've glazed LeBron James like they've never seen in the NBA before. It's true, man. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. I mean, it's how you know both of them are on the payroll because you can go back in time. Clearly, they do not realize that there's video evidence of them having an entirely different opinion. So PMR Hoop said MLB getting better and better every year. Just saying. I agree. However, I will say I don't like the pitch clock. I am not a fan of that at all, and I wish it would fuck off. I think it takes away an element from the game. Pierre Marhoop said, unless you're about Boston or Mets, then not the best time. Yeah. John Freeman, what's going on? Thanks for tuning in. You know, I I don't even necessarily like talking about my fandom for baseball because it just sounds like I'm jumping on the fucking bandwagon because I'm a Dodgers fan. Uh that's not true. I've been a Dodgers fan since the 80s. It was actually Fernando Valenzuela that made me a fan of the Dodgers. They've also just had so many great players that have played for their teams, throughout their history. Um, but it does. I try not to talk about it a lot. I mean, Shohei Ohtani he's something. I mean, to be playing, for as little as he's been playing, and he deserves to be in the GOAT conversation. So it's crazy. I do need to start watching more baseball. I just don't understand. Basketball seems to be the worst at thinking the players now are the best and everyone else was ass and they have to do everything that they can to disparage and tear down everybody that played before this era. I can't even think of another sport that does it. Period. Actually, that's not true. It's not another sport, but hip hop does it also. And that's another thing that fucking disgusts me. All those fucking mumble rappers and shit talking about, oh, Tupac ain't shit and Biggie ain't shit. You're not shit. Nobody likes you. Gen Z likes you, and I'm sorry, but who gives a fuck what they like? Can't stand it. If you have to tear somebody else down to make yourself great, you're not fucking great. It's that simple. I just can't stand that. And people can say, oh, it's hate or, you have too much hatred in you. I don't have any hatred in me. I do have a shit ton of passion, though. And passion may present itself or sound like anger. It's not. I want the best of whatever the fuck I'm doing, whether I'm doing it or somebody else is doing it. I want the best. And I'm not going to apologize for it. And if I hold myself to that standard, I've earned every fucking right to hold other people to that standard. I'm not going to ask anybody to do what I am unwilling to do myself. And if I hold myself to that standard, I'm going to hold you to it too. And that's for everyone. That's not just for people in sports. That's my family. That's my friends. That's everyone. And you better fucking bring it because I'm going to. So Pierre Hoop said, I believe they have strong incentives to crap on former eras. Slight civil war brewing over there in NBA media, though. I think you're absolutely right. I think there probably are incentives. JXY said Tupac never said he was better than Rakim back then. People had respect for the greats that came before them. Absolutely. Angry Old Hoops, how you doing, man? I just get tired of people having to shit on other people to make themselves better. And I guarantee if there's a fucking fanboy in here who'll say, oh, all you do is shit on LeBron. It's not to make myself better. I'm not saying I'm better than he is. I just want people to hold themselves accountable and to hold other people accountable. No fucking excuses. There's a reason why when I changed the logo for my channel, the line underneath it now says, don't make excuses, make results. That's all I fucking ask. I get tired of people saying this, but, this, but, this, but. Go fuck yourself. Do it or don't. Fail. I don't give a shit if people fail. I have failed so many times in my life. I'm still trying to fix the failures from the fucking last time. Hopefully, I will. I don't care if you fail. I hate when people fail and then make excuses for why they failed. I just want accountability. Joseph said, I used to respect Reggie Miller. Now I hate his takes. He knows better, but he's on LeBron payroll. He has to be on LeBron's payroll. He played real, genuine basketball. And as much as I didn't like the Pacers because they were competition for the Bulls, I had the utmost respect for Reggie Miller. Period. Not anymore. Now every time he opens his fucking mouth, I'm like, oh my God, dude, what happened to you? Angry, Angry Hoop said, shut the fuck up by Dr. Dennis Leary. If only. If only people would shut the fuck up. Oh, man. Seriously, guys, I'm going to keep apologizing for this cough until it finally fucks off. But it doesn't seem to want to. I haven't had myself checked out. I promise I'm not dying. But if I do not have a cough drop in my mouth constantly, I just can't stop coughing. So I have a question for you guys. I know on Saturday, most of us probably tuned in to watch the Rockets Lakers. Have you guys watched any of the other playoff games? Have you seen a game that was even worthy of watching? I guess what I'm asking is, have any of you watched an entire playoff game and enjoyed the whole game? I have to assume the answer is no, because I've watched a number of people's others channels with their content on these other playoff games. It certainly doesn't look impressive. I've heard a few people glazing for it. So Woodage says, I watched some of the Blazers and Spurs game because of the center matchup. Was it any good? Angry Old Hoop said, I'm going to watch the Wolves Nuggets now. I do kind of want to watch that game. I mean, that Nuggets first win was pretty ugly, but a win is still a win. I'm curious if that'll at least be a decent competition. I'd be curious, how Jokic and Gobert can do, or if they'll do anything that is worthy of respect. Cottage says, I may watch Hawks versus Knicks. Yeah. JXY said Wimby was jacking up threes and Tim Duncan was on the side of the bench looking ashamed. He should be. That's what I thought was crazy. So one of the reasons why I had hope for Wimby, and I'll say it was hope because I just knew that he was going to let me down, but he was training with Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and apparently he did some sessions with Olajuwon, just like Kobe and LeBron and a few others have done. But I feel like he just doesn't listen. Like, I feel like he's a player that could say, this is I don't want to take threes. I'm fucking 7'4". Taking threes should not be in my bag. I mean, maybe if you shoot one or two a game, I'll forgive you. But when you're chucking up 6 or 7 and you're a 7-footer, what the hell are you doing? I just don't respect that. I don't want to see it. So Wooted said, we're Wimby first unanimous defensive player of the year. He may win defensive player of the year, but I still think like defensive player of the year in this era is some weak sauce. How many elite defenders are there in this era? And if you compare his numbers as what he got second in defensive player of the year last year, if you compare him to actual greats like David Robinson, like Mark Price, like Shaq, like Olajuwon, he doesn't put up the same numbers that those guys did. Partially it's because it's a completely different era. But I don't think that's, I don't know. I genuinely had hope for Wimby, and I don't care anymore. Cotton said Shaq is better than Hakeem. I'm gonna hugely fucking disagree with you there. Shaq does not have a good record against quality centers. Hakeem does. Shaq's great at what he did, but to even put him in the same conversation with Hakeem, I think is absolutely fucking outrageous. I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but yeah, that's crazy. JXY said, if y'all want to see defense, watch the Pistons versus Magic. Magic plays defense and been making some noise since they got Banchero. It may not be 90s defense, but for this era, it's not bad. The reality is, like, at this point, I'll even take not bad. Not bad is better than non-fucking existent. JXY said, Hakeem not getting clamped by Ben Wallace. Nope. That is the truth. It's only Amazon. I don't know. Maybe I need to give the playoffs another chance because the Lakers and Rockets was not a good demonstration of basketball, period, let alone playoff basketball. If KD, so this is what I'm expecting to happen. KD ducked out on game 1. If KD is back for game 2, I am not going to be at all surprised if LeBron ducks out on game 2. I hope that they will actually face off and play head to head against each other. I just can't believe that that's going to happen. And since LeBron is the king of ducking smoke, if KD's back, I would not be surprised if, he decides that his hymen hurts or I don't know, whatever the fuck his problem is. I do. I may check out the Nuggets Wolves and at least give it a quarter. And hey, maybe they can impress me. I'm not going to hold my breath because I'll probably fucking die, but I can at least give them a chance. Magic Pistons may be a good one too. I can't remember the guy's first name, but Castle, isn't Castle on the Pistons? He seems like he actually gives a fuck about defense, or at least tries to. I don't know. So actually, why some of you are here, if you want to help out my channel, I don't even give a shit if you watch it. If you could just queue up my NBA videos playlist and just let it play in the background, I have met all of the other metrics for membership and for smart chats, but I don't have the watch time. It's one of the drawbacks of growing a little bit too fast. So I just don't have the watch hours. So if you want to help me out, if you want to help out my channel, put on a playlist and just let it play. I don't even care if you watch. I would never try to cheat the system, but in this one regard, I'm doing everything I can to cheat the system. I just need more watch hours. I went from having like 350 subs to like over 700 in such an incredibly short amount of time. Thanks to all of you. And I absolutely respect and appreciate you guys for it. But there just hasn't been a lot of watch hours within that short time frame. So if you want to help me out, that's the way that you can do it. Because I'm so close. I'm almost at 2,300 watch hours and I need 3,000. So it's not even like I need a ton more. But that's the one thing that's hard to come by. Views, likes, subscribers, I respect and appreciate them all. But watch hours is where you put in work. Watch hours is where you put in your support. So if you want to support me, that's the way to do it. But I won't mention it again. Anyway, shit. I was planning on going slightly longer, but I'm not going to lie. I don't know what the fuck else to talk about. If you guys have any ideas, I'm more than happy to hear it. PMR Hoops, you want to jump on for a few? I'll email you the link. If you don't want to, that's also totally fine. Don't feel bad if you can't or simply don't want to. I won't take it personally. I just thought I would offer. Wooded said Pistons says they were ready for the Hornets. I would like to see the Pistons do well. Oh, all right. Well, sweet. Let me get that over to you. I just have to remember how the fuck to do it. So bear with me real quick. All right, let's see if this shit works. Sorry, I apologize for the silence, guys. I am trying to figure this out. There we go. Okay, I sent you the link. And real quick, guys, I promise I will be right back in just a second, but bear with me. All right, guys. Sorry about that. I apologize. All right. Woodard said today is the anniversary of Jordan's 63-point game. Oh shit, I didn't know that. That's actually cool as hell. I I actually remember watching that game live on TV. I was 10 years old. Uh I sent it to your email address. It should have came from the real Siberius at gmail.com. Tell you what, I will try sending it again. That was a great game. That 63-point game. Oh my God. Shadow said, just wondering, Cybers, you hear about KD. Hear what? Is he going to be out for game 2 also? Jordan definitely put himself on the map with that game. Like he delivered when nobody thought he would. And to set that playoff record at that time, like, come on. That was absolutely crazy. All right, I'm going to try to send it again. Say, PMR, I sent it again. Let's see, invite guest. Gmail. All right, I'm going to try to send it more time directly from StreamYard. All right, try it again. Let me know if it works or doesn't work. Sorry, guys. I probably should have figured out all of this inviting people shit before, but I didn't. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me while I figure it out. People. Nope. Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's not going to work. I was going to say I'll stay on for a few minutes longer and hopefully we can figure it out. But I am not going to lie. I actually did not have a lot to specifically discuss. So this may be a slightly shorter one. So I sent 3 different ones. One of them was specifically. Oh wait, no, that's shared. Okay, so the first 2 that I shared were referral links because I'm apparently a fucking idiot. The third one I sent was directly an invite from StreamYard. Wood says we can talk more about shoes. Does anyone have any KDs? I like talking about shoes. My favorite pair of shoes that I have are my SB Dunk Unluckies. And part of the reason why I like them is because they are a limited run. And I don't even know if you can buy them anymore. You may be able to buy them used. But yeah, I don't even know if you can find dead stock. but I like the way they look. 13 has always been my favorite number. Cottage, you were right. Castle does play for the Spurs, not the Pistons. That was my fault. Wooded says, how come Nike won't come out with the Moses Malone Air Ones? If they did, I would buy them. So, yeah, if they're refusing to for some reason, excuse me, that's just stupid because I would love a pair of Moses Malone shoes. I just like Air Ones. I think they're a quality shoe. Again, very flat footed, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but they're still comfortable. I mean, they're a lot more comfortable than Chuck Taylor's. And they're just a nice, clean shoe. I was going to say, I like just a nice, clean shoe. Doesn't have to be super fancy. Wooded says Moses was one of the early superstars to wear lows. I don't know how they do it, man. All right, here, I'm going to try again. I promise I'll send the right fucking one this time. Okay, so PMR Hoops, the title of the email is going to be Join Me on StreamYard Now. That should be the correct link. It should say Join Me as a guest on StreamYard and include the link. If it doesn't work, it's because I'm a brain damaged fucking idiot and I'm clearly not smart enough to figure it out. Yeah, I don't have any Barclays. I have 2 pairs of Pepin's Tempos. What the fuck are the Rodmans that I have? Of course, I can't remember the name. Yeah, the majority of the shoes that I wear are Jordans. They've just always been the biggest sellers. I've been the biggest fan of them. I also, and this is incredibly rare for people that collect shoes, uh, all of my shoes are white, red, and black. That's it. I don't have any other color shoes. So if they don't come in white, red, or black, uh, I typically don't own them. I can post it in the chat, but I'm not going to lie. This is for PMR Hoops only. I'm not going to invite anyone else. I'm still trying to figure this shit out. And I was going to say, I have. All right. Let's just try that. PMR, use that link, and if that doesn't work, then it's fucking broke. JXY said I got the same shoes AI had when he crossed up Tlu in the finals. Oh, that's sick. Let's go down here. What The hell? I really didn't think that this shit would be this complicated. So it's entirely possible that I'm stupid. It's also why I'm probably losing viewers is because I'm too stupid to figure this shit out. It is what it is. Sometimes there is trial and error. PMR still no luck. Oh, there we go. All right, I think you're with me, man.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, what's up?
Oh, that one worked.
Well, good. I was gonna say, yeah, it only took me fucking 10 minutes to figure it out.
It's probably not you. It's probably StreamYard's. Probably.
No, I think it's probably me. It's good though.
Well, I got one of them, so maybe it just doesn't want to send too many in a row or something. Who cares?
I guess. I mean, it's possible.
Who cares? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. So I think we should take this time so you can talk about your channel.
Oh, well, I'm trying to have the first video up tonight. The goal was to have it today. Actually, told AOH it was going to be today, and it's a lot harder to get it to go online than I thought.
It is.
So I'm still hacking away at it, but I don't know, at this rate it'll be up like at midnight or something. So I might just upload it tomorrow during the day, but I still want to finish it tonight anyway.
Well, yeah.
Because I don't know, because I said that I would, so I just want to get it done.
Anyway, real quick, just in case anybody doesn't know, Pineapple Midrange is AKA McZuggins, who, if you guys are familiar with, he has been on a number of Angry Real Hoops and Sports and Fitness Rants lives. He's been in their comments for years, and he is launching his channel. So I just wanted to give him a platform to kind of bring it to your guys' attention, talk to you what it's about. So go ahead, PMR.
I appreciate it. But I'll tell you, the way editing's been going today, I regret all of it. Y'all have convinced me to do something crazy. But it's all right. We'll get it figured out. I appreciate the second. I don't have like I don't have like a stump speech or a plug or anything prepared, but if anybody has not heard me before, or if anybody's interested, I like, for years I've been following, I really, I don't know, it's like watching a car wreck, but I really somehow enjoy following the off the court stuff, the little sort of the financial deals that they make, the incentive structures, the investment structures, and how that translates into the behavior on the court. Siberius and I talked about it the other day, but it's not, not everything is actually conspiracy, because a conspiracy requires people to sit in a room and decide what they're going to do. But if all their incentives align and they all stand to get rich doing the same behavior, well, then all the behavior will trend towards wherever that money is. And that's just seems to be the story of the last 15 years of the NBA, at least. So, I don't know. It's gross. Everything about it is gross, but I don't hear it mentioned ever by anyone in sort of the NBA media. So I figured, well, forget it. I'll just start a channel and talk about it myself, I guess. See if anybody else is interested.
Well, I think that's why it's going to be successful, is because it's an entire area of the NBA that isn't discussed, and yet it manipulates so many pieces. Like you said, it's gross, but it's a gross that people aren't even aware of for the most part.
It really is. It really is. And this year, I was really hesitant on actually pulling the trigger on starting this in the fall, but I kind of wish I had. This year has been probably the most insane year in terms of sort of financial moves from these guys. The amount of conflict of interest everywhere is just, it's disgusting. It's so gross. But if anybody wants to, dig into it a little bit, just go look up insert insert star name and NBA Europe, and just start digging around. But it's a bunch of, so like a lot of players are not supposed to be able to have ownership stakes in the NBA while they're active players. And
Yeah.
there's been a bunch of shenanigans with that for the expansion teams, particularly with LeBron. But there's ways to structure that. But NBA Europe is technically a separate league that the NBA is going to own 50% of. So over the past year and last summer, a lot of the stars, a lot of the people who get sort of a lot of kid glove treatment in the media, or that get a lot of hype or whatever. A lot of these guys have been positioning themselves to have big ownership stakes in Europe, to be the sort of NBA player of note, to sort of give legitimacy to the investor group. So they've all been making a whole bunch of deals to get themselves a seat at that table. So I talked a little bit about it the other night with y'all about KD doing that. But KD's going to have a very nice stake waiting for him on retirement in Paris games. Sorry, the Paris team. But there's teams in Madrid, Milan, Rome, London, and then of course LeBron's media company just merged with this huge production company over there in the UK, specifically to handle this, and if they end up doing the Saudi league. So it's gross. It's gross how much these things are connected, and then you start seeing these guys not play as hard against each other, or I guess just openly sitting out with a bruise. You see the way they talk in the media changes, the way they appear on podcast changes, which podcasts they appear on.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So Wootage asked, is NBA Europe going to be like NFL Europe from back in the day?
I do not know anything about NFL Europe back in the day, so I have no idea if it will be like that or not.
Gotcha.
What they're trying to do, they want to expand the whole NBA, but they want to have an official NBA Europe league that is exclusive to Europe. So they won't be playing against us here. I'm sure they'll do some exhibition thing or some bullshit tournament, but in terms of regular season or anything, that won't mix. And then they've been dealing with this. They've been trying to do this for about 2 years. They've been working on it now. I mean, sure, they've been working on it longer, but officially
Right.
they've been working on it for about 2 years. And that's part of well, never minding all that, I guess. But yeah, they've been working on that for about 2 years now. The first season is going to be, I think 27 to 28, I think is when they're planning to start. So pretty soon.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a
actually
lot
the
sooner
bids,
than I
the
thought.
first round of bids just closed, and most teams ended up around $1 billion valuation already.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, it's not a small thing. And then of course there's a lot of pushback though in Europe. There's a lot of sort of corporate warfare going on over there from the FIBA and particularly the EuroLeague supporters. They don't want their league to end up being corporatized or outshone, but it kind of doesn't matter, unfortunately for them, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, I guess. But all the franchises have been, like all the local clubs, local teams have been positioning themselves and taking investments and courting different investor groups and NBA players to position themselves to be the inaugural teams of the new league. So and for the record, I think it's great. I think a European league would be cool. I think, EuroLeague is cool. I think FIBA is cool. I think their style of basketball is great. I actually think NBA Europe, there's a lot of sort of secondary effects of that I think would actually make the NBA here a whole lot better. I think that's like the only hope for basketball now. I really hope that becomes the next era of basketball.
I agree.
So
I think part of the thing is the NBA doesn't have any competition, so there's nothing forcing them to be better or to deliver a better product. And if NBA Europe can be that driving force to make them step up their game, I'm all for it.
yeah, I think that I think that would be fantastic. What I'm hoping for is they would have to. My guess is that they're going to have the rules be very similar, if not identical, to FIBA rules or EuroLeague rules, which are a
Yeah,
little bit different from they are here.
right.
So, my hope is that as they go, that sort of translates over here, that maybe they start bringing some of those rules here and maybe start actually enforcing some of the rules they have here that they have not been enforcing for ages. So I think that would be, the best possible outcome. I'll give you one sort of little hot take prediction.
Sure.
I'm willing to bet anything. I'm willing to bet absolutely anything that the next CBA will lower the NBA's quarters to 10 minutes.
I hope not.
I don't think there's any way to avoid it. Europe has 10 minutes. They're used to that, so they wouldn't want to do the extra 2 minutes. The
Right.
only thing that's prevented that for years, players have been asking for that to absolutely nobody's surprise. But the big stars have been asking for that. They're trying to get out of playing as much as possible. But while they've been asking for that for a long time and trying to pressure the league to accept it, there's no way to do that because that loses a lot of potential revenue. That's, you spread that out, over however many total games there are in a season. 82 games per team.
Yeah.
That's a lot of minutes. That's a lot of minutes without commercials. That's a lot of minutes without sponsors. That's a lot of minutes without all this. But the two expansion teams now, Vegas and Seattle, more than make up. If they have 82 games as well, or if they shorten it to be, 80 games or something like that, however the math works out, that more than makes up the difference of what they would lose with 10 minutes. And so I'm guessing that they'll give the players that in exchange for whatever they can get, a bigger slice of the total income or something, or the total revenue. So either way, I think that's what's going to happen. I think the next CBA, I think, is going to go down in 10 minutes. I think they're going to try to go for parity with Europe, have everybody play 10 minutes. The load managers will be happy, and it'll be fine. It'll be offset by having more games with two expansion teams.
Right. My fear with the expansions is I have no doubt that Vegas will have a team. Somebody there will look at the financial incentives despite the financial cost and will make that investment. I'm not convinced that Seattle will.
Really? You think Seattle won't do it?
Well, so the problem is they're implementing all of these new laws because right now Washington doesn't have a state income tax. So we have sales tax, but we don't have a state income tax. So they're looking at enforcing a state income tax. That alone could make a potential investor for the Seattle team be like, I'm not going to do that. 10% of, $1 billion is a lot of fucking money.
That's true. That might cut down the field a bit. I still think it's going to happen, but that may actually narrow the field of interested bidders.
I mean, I think there will be another expansion team. My fear is that it just won't be Seattle.
I hope it's Seattle. I'd love to see Seattle come back.
For it to be Seattle. I was going to say, I have access to go see every single home game. I want it to be Seattle. I'm just not entirely convinced that it's going to be. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't know if there are backup regions that they would like to get a team into if Seattle doesn't take that opportunity.
I think they will. I think they will take the opportunity. I really do. I cannot imagine that they wouldn't, or I cannot imagine that the owners wouldn't still put in for it. The number of players, depending on how high that tax is, the number of players who would want to go play over there or the number of bidders to do so, but somebody will. One of the groups, I think, totally will. I hope
I
so.
would hope so. I mean, it may end up, having to be a conglomerate that forms in order to do it so they can offset that income tax if it does come to fruition. I mean, it isn't in place yet. It's been voted on and it's kind of past the first step. It's entirely likely that it may get shut down in legislation, and hopefully it does for everybody's sake. But if it doesn't, I don't know. They may have to go to another region on the list. And I mean, I think Seattle is a great basketball town. I mean, I've lived here my entire life. Seahawks fans are fair weather fans. Kraken hasn't been around long enough. Everybody likes to pretend to be a Mariners fan when they're winning. But when they're not, you don't see any Mariners fans out there. But we were always basketball fans. From my very early childhood to when Howard Schultz sold the team, there were always Sonics fans. So I would say more so than anything, we're a basketball town.
And I too, man. Everybody loved the Sonics.
Back.
I think so too. Everybody loved the Sonics.
They were a great team. So I hope beyond hope that they are the expansion team. I mean, and given that the NBA already voted yes, somebody's got to, I mean, hopefully someone will just take a chance. Because the thing is, even if they buy the team, it's not like teams go down in value. If they keep the team for 2 years and decide, wow, this wasn't a great investment, well, sell it for $3 billion. You paid one for it. You make money, and the team carries on. Like,
yeah, a lot of these, the valuation for these teams has gone up so much in the last few years, especially as the NBA Europe stuff started heating up in the last couple of years. But I mean, they're up to, I think, $6 or $7 billion per team now.
Yeah,
is what they're valued at. Like, it's the end. Like the Buss family, I think they're technically the second to last, but they're the last like major sort of family to actually have any kind of meaningful or majority stake in anything. It's all private equity now, which is that's the next thing that's coming, by the way. If anybody wants to know, if you want to know what's going to happen in about 2 to 3 years, that's going to be the next really fun thing to talk about. So like a couple years ago, it was only a few years ago, they allowed for private equity firms to start having sort of meaningful stakes in NBA teams. And then they expanded how many teams a single group could actually be invested in at the same time. So there's a couple investment funds that are, private equity groups that are, I think, is it Blue Owl Capital has, I think, 5 teams. I think they have a stake in 5 teams now.
That's crazy.
So they had, I want to say they had 6, and then the Suns went private. But then I think they picked up Atlanta, so I think they're back up to. So they're currently at 5 or 6 now, which is just crazy. Like that's I don't know, it's gross. But the one thing that's not allowed is sovereign wealth funds. So like things like the Saudi wealth fund, for example.
Yeah.
So sovereign wealth funds are not able to right now, but they are able to invest in the European League. So it is a matter of time. It's just a couple years. If you're letting them in the European League, there's no way you don't change those rules to let it be here. So, and it's big. I mean, I'm talking about like real big money, real big investors. Like they're investing in every single part of this. Like not just teams and stuff, but there's a bit of news in the fall. So like Goldman Sachs, do you know the XL Sports Group? It's Jokic is under that. Tiger Woods, Caitlin Clark, they're the agency for a bunch of those, for a bunch of stars and a bunch of sports. Goldman Sachs just got into that. Goldman Sachs just bought out Excel. Goldman Sachs is now the majority owner of a talent agency for sports and a bunch of NBA players. So like I'm talking about the biggest names in money are now investing into sports, and the hottest ticket is the NBA because they're pushing abroad, and that's where the big money wants to go.
Right.
And there's a million reasons for that, I'll make 100 videos on, but that's the big push. So like, it's just going to get more and more disgusting, I think, over the next 10 years. But I'm hoping that the Europe thing will at least improve what's on the court, regardless of how disgusting it is off the court. I just hope that this new crop with a new league to compete for attention and FIBA rules, and I hope that somehow ends up with a better game on the court, or at least a better attitude about it.
Well, and that's the thing. And I know you and I discussed it like offline, but back then we didn't care about any of this. The game on the court was so good that we didn't pay any attention to it whatsoever. It's now that the game has gotten so bad that the kind of nefarious things that happen behind the scenes have now started to become or move to the forefront. I'm happy if the game on the court gets better to start ignoring all of that shit again, because it's going to happen whether or not I know about it, whether or not I care about it. I just want a good product.
Yeah, if the game is good, nobody cares. If the game is good, nobody cares what anybody's doing, what handshakes are happening, what kind of stuff there is, what conflicts of interest. Like, nobody cares if the game is great. But, the last, 6, 7 years, I feel like there's been a lot more attention on things like Clutch Sports or, ESPN's, rather Clutch's takeover of ESPN. There's just been a lot more focus on that. And I think that's all evidence of an enormous amount of fans being really unhappy with the league. Like, why else would you care about that?
Well, I mean, and if I reflect on my viewership in the 80s and 90s, I wouldn't have been able to tell you a single owner, a single agent, a single anything. All I knew was players in the game on the court, because that was enough to captivate my attention.
Yeah. I mean,
that's not the case anymore.
I liked following some of that, but it was kind of more, but I was even more following that I thought it was cool back then. Like, I would read, there's a great book about Red Auerbach, the Celtics, how he put those things together, how he put the teams together and stuff. There's lots of like Pat Riley playing the system and Red Auerbach playing the system, under the CBAs that they had back then. And there's like neat stuff in there, but the incentive in the old business model all the way up until maybe, I don't know, 2008 or so, 2008 to 2012, somewhere in there is when it really started to change. But the incentive back then was, they were always doing little handshake deals and shady stuff and, lots of conflict of interest and, loopholes in the rules. And there was always stuff like that going on. But the way that you made money and the way that the team made money, the way the owners made money, the way everybody made money was by growing the fan base as large as you could and having a dedicated fan base for your particular franchise. Like, the more eyeballs you had, the more money you made. So I was joking with you the other day, like, even the corruption was still in the service of making your team better or more enjoyable or more entertaining or to win more rings.
Yeah.
Like, that was still the goal. So there's all sorts of messed up ways that they tried to do that, but that was the goal. And now that model is completely different. That's not the goal anymore. That's not where the big money comes from. So you see it. They don't optimize for it at all. I saw someone in the chat was saying, let me see if I can get the name right there. Yeah, Wootage. You know what I mean? Like, it's exactly this kind of stuff. Trying to please the European players, changing the rules to be less physical. And now it's all even less physical than the EuroLeague. Like, it's stuff like that. Like, it's stuff where the financial incentives make the on the court product, I think, worse for longtime fans.
Yeah.
But like, stuff like that is gross. Like, I don't know. Like, the fans didn't know about NBA owners' names. Rap God. Yeah, it's true. It's true. There was like maybe 2 owners that anybody knew. And even then, usually because they were in a fight with a player or something.
Right. I mean, like, I had heard about, Mark Cuban owning the Mavericks. But like that wasn't even about him owning the Mavericks. It just happened like they were talking about his financial endeavors. It had nothing to do with him actually owning the team or him manipulating the team. It was just, oh, hey, this is Mark Cuban. He happens to own, be a partial owner in the Mavericks.
Yeah, and he's one of the few billionaires
part of
that
my
made a
youth.
point to be famous.
Yes. Oh, for sure. No, most of them you don't even know their names and never will. And if you heard it, you wouldn't know that they were a billionaire.
Yep. Woodage is asking how many overseas players say the NBA is less physical than EuroLeague. If I'm not mistaken, I think every single one that has come here has said exactly that. That it was less physical, that it was different but easier.
Well, I mean, yeah, Luca is quoted as saying it's so much easier to score in the NBA than it is in the EuroLeague.
Yeah, well, they have a lot lower scoring games over there too, like in general.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of defense. You see there's still a lot of like man-to-man coverage. There's still a lot of running around. I don't know. It's not as much. I don't know. It's just more. How do I put this? It's like it's more team. It's more team play, and then like 5-out stuff, or everybody just.
For sure.
I don't know. Pace and space is it's a thing, but they're still. I don't know. They have like a hybrid thing, I think, going on. But
I mean, it would be nice if. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's gross. It's definitely gross.
It is.
I don't like it.
That's the word that keeps coming up. The more you dig into this kind of stuff, the more you look at it, the more you're just like, this is gross. This is disgusting. What is this? Why is it like this?
Just made another point. Europeans practice the fundamentals. Americans don't anymore.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no prioritization of fundamentals. It's how to get highlights.
Yeah.
How to boost your brand and how to make sure that you're getting your points so you can get what's best for you.
Yeah, it's all brand value and how much you sit out, or how much how much you fake whatever injury, or how much you load manage, or less than stellar performance. As long as you don't get posterized, you don't get talked too much on social media, you're fine. Your brand value is fine. Actually, we were joking about it. That's going to be my second video. The most profitable sort of narrative that you can possibly have in the NBA is that you are transcendent, that you're amazing, that you're the greatest ever when you're healthy. Like that is the angle that everyone tries to go after, because it's just crazy profitable. Like you can sit out and your endorsement value will go up. Whereas a lot of guys that play and play harder and play for more games, their endorsement value goes down and quickly. And
I think what I find most disgusting about that is if that's the model that they're trying to put out there, that's fine. It's the fact that fans respond to that and accept that and embrace it. They're not saying you're a piece of shit because you're not playing. They're saying, well, you got to protect yourself, and you can't play as good of offense if you play as much defense. So you should be resting on defense. Like they're defending it.
Oh yeah. Yep, they're defending it. They're making every excuse for it, and it just like, not to straw man them too much, but just to give as a quick example. They always talk about, right, the modern era is faster. It's a lot more. It's hard cuts, right? You just don't understand a lot of the it's not banging around inside on the paint. Everybody's moving around, making fast cuts everywhere, and there's more injuries because of that, and yada yada yada. Right? You hear all this all the time, right?
Right.
And the people who do the most cutting, right, are the people who don't have the ball, right? If you're the guy who's awesome and you're the best, you're the GOAT, you're whatever, and not just LeBron James, but like any major star, right? You're bringing the ball up the court, or you're the playmaker, right? All that kind of stuff means that you have the ball and everyone else is cutting all the time. And that's what makes the modern era so amazing, right? Why aren't you load managing the role players? Why aren't their injuries up? Why is there not an increased risk of the guys who are cutting all the time of getting injured from the amount of cutting that happens in the NBA? Why is it only the top 15 most profitable players that have to be load managed for risk of injury because the modern era is so different? What about the other 435 players? Like, what about all the role players? They're playing 79 games, 81 games, 82 games. They're cutting all the time because they're not the best, so they're not the playmaker, they're not the ball handler. You'd
Right.
think they'd be dead. You think they, their whole careers would be over in 3 years the way these guys talk about it. So like it's not about health. I mean, there's some, level of saving for the playoffs and be rested for stuff, but that only counts in the last week or two. That does not actually, that doesn't make what is it, some 22 games or so, 20 games? Like that's not even close. And also, how is it that the top 15 or 20 players, the biggest, highest paid stars, how is it that all of their random injuries, a knee here, a hamstring there, pinky soreness here, for all the random injuries they get and all the random basketball that they play, they all converge right around 62 to 68 games. They
Yep.
all converge on missing about 25% of the games every year.
Yep.
Like, what are the odds that that would be exactly that number? Like, somebody figured out that that's the optimal number.
Well, and it's why there's all this pushback from players and the media about 65 games being unfair.
Yeah, everybody needs exceptions, but everybody needs exceptions. What do you call it? Everybody only needs exceptions to hit the 65 thing if they were already close to 65 before the last week of the season. Why is everybody right on the cusp of 65 right before the end of the season?
I mean, those are the questions you're not supposed to be asking because then it all falls apart.
Yeah, and again, it's gross. It's just there's no other way to say it. Like it's gross.
Well, so I'm sure you guys saw it, but Sports and Fitness Rants did a video where he was comparing the amount of players that missed the last game of the season, of the regular season, in comparison to the players in the 80s and 90s missing the last game of the season. And the game that he specifically pinpointed was it was a game between the Bulls and the Knicks. Nothing could be changed from this game. Win or loss for either team, nothing in the standings was affected. It's the last game of the season. The standings are already set in stone. All starters played. And they all played at least 32 minutes.
Yeah.
Why? They didn't have to. I mean, thank God they did. And, I'm so grateful that I grew up in that era where they played those games. But they all could have load managed that. They all could have said, well, I mean, what's the fucking point? This game means nothing. Like, why not just play, our bench guys and get them some more experience? But they didn't do that.
Yeah, it's because the incentives were different. I mean, that's my answer. I mean, you could, I totally agree with Sports and Fitness and most people about the character stuff. I see it in the chat right now. I think that Rap God. Yeah, I'm sure there's an enormous amount of laziness. I'm sure there's a bunch of softness. I totally agree. But my sort of, I don't know, my perspective on it is that there are also additionally a whole lot of incentives to sit out or to not play hard. Whereas back then, the incentives were the opposite way. The incentives heavily incentivized playing hard, playing most games, if not all games, every game that you could. Like
Right.
that's sort of what it was built around. For the league too, like not just for individual players, but the league had a vested interest in their stars playing as much as possible. Teams had a vested interest, like a financial interest in having their stars play as much as possible. And then players also had a huge multitude of incentives to play as hard as possible. And like one by one over the last 15 years, most of those have been stripped away. There's very few left.
So just out of curiosity, and I imagine you probably don't have the answer for it, but given now that this is the norm, like this is the foundation of the NBA, is there a way to change it? Or is it so instilled within the system that that's just the reality moving forward, barring some enormous breakdown of the league?
I don't think it's hopeless. I just think it takes time.
Yeah.
But I don't actually think that it's hopeless. at all. And but it's going to take a lot longer than I think most fans want to wait. But I think there's a few ways
Yeah.
it can. I think there's a few ways it can improve, and I think there's a couple long-term ways that I hope, maybe I'm being optimistic, but that I feel like I want to believe that it's inevitable that it will actually have to improve. Uh, First you could have a new Kobe, a new Jordan, a new incredible talent that actually just goes hard at everybody all the time and tries to
Yeah.
posterize, attacks that weakness. If everybody's scared of looking bad, then go out there with the intention of trying to make everybody look, if a player comes with that mentality, and their brand value soars to the roof, if they can actually deliver that, consistently, that could put a lot of pressure
For sure.
on everybody else. Then, because then how do you match that? So now you're going to have to try to do more, or at least try not to look bad. So that's but that's the dream. That's right. Those kinds of guys are 1 in 1 million, 1 in 100 million,
Right.
and someone
Right.
like that comes around. But over the long term, I think NBA Europe will improve the game. I do think that will. I hope that will help the game. The alternative is that the NBA style of play ruins what the Europeans have today. But I'm hoping it goes the other way. I'm hoping that the European play improves. The American NBA's play, but also the stuff. A lot of these things are starting to lose value towards players. Like brands aren't spending what they used to spend on that.
Right.
You can actually see it when you watch the games. You see a lot of like worse ads, or like you see like lower budget ads, little by little over the last couple of years. Like there's a reason for that.
Right.
They're not spending as much. And the new thing, like financially speaking, it looks like they're basically spending the most, but they're actually getting a lot more for their dollar. A lot of these ads now are like bundled ads on streaming platforms. So your ad will play like if I ran a commercial before, I would have to pay a fortune for it just to run in one game. Whereas now I pay the same amount, but it will run in different games or at different times to
Oh,
targeted
gotcha.
audiences that I say. So I actually get more ads for my money for the same
That makes
dollar.
sense.
But that means that it's losing value. So on the streaming platform side, those deals just locked in for I think 11 years. So we're not going to see a rise or decline in those contracts until I think 2034, 2035. I think is when the next bids are going to be. So anybody complaining about I want to watch all the games and now I need 15 platforms, like, well, that's going to be the case until the mid 2030s. So, that kind of sucks.
I mean,
But
that's not just basketball though. Like I wanted to watch WrestleMania yesterday, and the only place I could watch it was fucking ESPN. Well, I didn't have ESPN. So in order to watch it, I had to subscribe. So I mean, yeah, it's not just basketball that's doing that. It seems to be sports in general, because there are a lot of games that are on Peacock now or on Amazon Prime or on, all of these different things. There's not one ubiquitous place where you can watch all entertainment. You have to have 17 different streaming services to be able to watch everything. And
yep.
I mean, the reality is, this is what's crazy, is I was comparing my streaming service bill compared to my cable bill when I had it. It's still a lot fucking less to have all the streaming services.
It is. It still is. For now,
So
hopefully.
it's still expensive, but
And the funny thing
it's
is, they
cheaper
always,
than cable was.
when that started this past summer, do you remember everybody, a lot of the sort of modern era sort of hype, modern era stands and fanboys, talking about how like the viewership is down because nobody can afford to have all these streaming services. For
Yeah.
like 10 years, 9 years, like 85% of NBA games were only on ESPN. You only had to subscribe to one.
Yeah.
And it still lost, what was it, like 30 something percent over that time of viewership. So like, that's not the reason.
Well, no. And just so, like I had told everyone, I started watching the NBA again in 2020. In 2020, I subscribed to League Pass. That was it. And I was able to watch almost every single game. And the league pass that I got was only like $20 a month or something. It's not like it was ludicrously expensive. But now, and that's where they were getting the majority of the viewership from, is how many people are watching games on League Pass. While the viewership for League Pass had dropped significantly. And yeah, I've heard them come up with all sorts of excuses of, well, it used to just be Nielsen that they would track, and that would let you know how many people were watching something. And now they have to track, 8 different streaming services. It's far more difficult to track all of those streaming services. No, it isn't. All of those streaming services have very articulate or very accurate data about all of their programming.
Oh yeah, they know exactly how many people are watching, what time they're watching, how much money they make, how old they are, what race they are, every detail about them. They know more about their viewers now than they've ever known in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
But
so
I'll tell you, and the other thing, if you look at it, even NHL held steady but went up a little bit. MLB went down, over the course of the shift, but as soon as they banned the shift, viewership's been going up year over year, tremendously, and skewing younger and younger. So that's big. NFL is continuing to be. NFL has never even dipped. NFL just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. So so I guess everybody except for the NBA was able to grow. That doesn't make any sense to me. That well, as the streaming services, that's why you're not counting the streaming services. Like none of the other sports are counting the streaming services by that logic, and they're all up. So why is the NBA uniquely down? Is awkward.
Well, according to the NBA, it's because they're the bastard child, and they're always the victim. Everybody else's metrics don't apply to them because I don't know, for some made up fucking reason.
Yeah. And you see it actually, I think the biggest sort of tell, you see this a lot in other industries, you see it in like video games and stuff. But I don't know if you saw that thing they were talking about, like there's 170 million how did they try to put it? They try to put like unique viewers, I think is what they said, 170 million unique viewers this year, which is up like, I don't know, something like 30 something percent or 40 something percent from last year. I can't even remember. It was such an absurd thing. But, trying to make it seem like viewership is up by 30 something percent for the year. And the reality is, I just want everybody to know, when you see that thing or if you hear that thing around, nobody says that. You'll notice that if you watch any other sport, MLB doesn't use that metric, NHL doesn't use that metric, boxing doesn't use that metric, UFC doesn't use it, nobody uses that metric. And the reason is because it's called CUME, but it's CUME, you can look it up, but it's the cumulative unique viewers. And the way that's tracked is if anybody watched any NBA game for 1 minute or more at any point in the season, they're counted as a unique viewer that watched the NBA.
Wow.
So, and then you consider that half the streaming services, if you like mouse over it or you click over it on your remote or something like that, it will like autoplay. If you leave that auto playing, even on mute for a minute, congratulations, you are one of the 170 million. Like nobody uses that stat. It's useless. But they're plugging it, and you'd think if they really had 30 something percent, or if they had any kind of increase, you'd think they would put that number. So the fact that they're trying to use a cumulative number like that instead of using actual viewer metrics, I don't know. I think that tells me that it's down. I mean, all the other indicators are that it's down, but that's the reality. They don't need it. They don't. We joke about it, but KD was 100% right. They don't need a growing viewership. They don't need a growing fan base. They need. It's the same in a lot of video games. They need whales. They don't care how many people play. They care about who exactly is watching.
Yeah.
So if you spend enough money, if you buy, 17 jerseys, all the limited edition, weird little awkward colors and city colors. If you buy 17 jerseys, if you buy, corporate package seats, if you buy, if you're like a super fan, you're constantly engaged with it, then great. That's who they want. If you're engaging with, the crypto exchanges that sponsor the league, if you're betting all the time on it, if you're on Polymarket doing that, then great, DraftKings and stuff. then you're extremely valuable, and their numbers go up even if there's far fewer of them. That's just, it's just how it is.
For sure. No, it's definitely the harsh reality of it. Again, it's, context is their kryptonite, so they just don't offer any context, and it sounds impressive.
I love this comment here, though. I love Woodage 8434 talking about the NBA leaving NBC after 2002 was a mistake on their part. NBC knew how to promote the game. ESPN does not. 100%. That was actually a very key component to how ESPN shifted its coverage of the NBA enormously. The fact that NBC was not there. That's NBC's big play. That's I don't know if you remember. We talked about this last summer coming into the season. That NBC's lineup of all their commentators and all stuff. They're 100%. They've been, and $40 million for Michael Jordan to record these pre-recorded leadership talks and stuff. All of that is designed for us. All of that is designed, I'm assuming people's ages in the chat, but that's all designed for us. That's all designed for sort of the more disillusioned older fans who remember NBC, who remember former eras. Because they have kind of a problem with the domestic audience, which is part of the push abroad.
Yeah.
They have a real big problem. Like you're going after being cool and getting the most engagement and views and likes on social media from the younger generation, from the trendsetters and stuff. Except that you haven't increased any cultural relevance by doing so. And it turns out they don't actually spend money, and most of them have less and less money to spend every year.
Yep.
It turns out that your NBC crowd, your NBA and NBC crowd who remembers that stuff, turns out we have the most disposable income. Turns out we're looking for stuff to subscribe to. We're looking for stuff to watch.
Yep.
Like we're not free to play. You know what I mean? Like, so, I don't know if you play video games or keep up with that stuff, but like it's the same problem that Fortnite has been running into, that the majority of their players are free to play, and they nurtured that audience, but now that audience, that player base, that fan base doesn't have as much money anymore to buy skins and buy, all the fancy stuff.
Yep.
So that was NBC's play, I think. I think NBC was like, oh, well, we can just slam nostalgia as hard as we can and see if we can get people to come back and spend money, on our sponsors, on the ads that will run on NBC.
The reality is that it's a smart play.
It is. And I think that's the little civil war that's brewing, because you see the different, other than Reggie Miller, you see a huge difference in the coverage. There's a lot more like, oh, back in the day, when I was playing, it used to be like this and players should do that. You see a lot more of that on NBC, whereas on ESPN, all you hear about is how this is the greatest era ever. Those old guys couldn't hack it. In today's, same game, same teams, but when they play on one network, that's what you hear. And when you play on the other network, you hear the exact opposite.
It's true.
So I think that's what NBC's play is. I don't know how successful that will be. I don't know if that will create enough pressure to, make the game a little bit more appealing to those fans. I don't know if that'll work, but it's a smart move. But I totally think if NBC hadn't left the NBA, like Woodage is saying, I think if ESPN had a major competitor during the 2010s, especially, I think it'd be a whole different league.
Oh, I think so. Absolutely.
So I think Woodage is onto it there.
I mean, to use the video game example, video games did the exact same thing. I mean, I've been playing video games online for 30 years. It used to just be Steam. You wanted to play a game online, you went to Steam.
Yep.
Now you have to go to 15 other different platforms to be able to play all of their game, and you have to sign up with them, and you have to buy it through their store. Or even with online viewing, it used to be Netflix. You wanted to watch stuff online, it was Netflix, and now every network has their own. But what they realized is people just want to watch shit on Netflix. So there were those companies that started their own network platform and then decided, and then realized, wow, we are not getting the views that we used to get when we were on Netflix. We need to lease this back to Netflix. Like, we'll keep it on ours also, but we're going to give it back to Netflix also because that's where people want to watch. The reality is, if I want to watch basketball, I'd prefer to watch it on NBC because it's what I'm familiar with, and because I think that they're the platform that presents it in a way that I feel is targeted towards me, not a TikTok fan, not, somebody that has a 30-second, attention span.
Yeah, well, Rap God Reloaded here hit it on the head. NBA wants to target TikTok fans. It's exactly what we're talking about. That's who they've been targeting, but now they're starting to realize that unfortunately that doesn't actually convert into purchase behavior.
Yeah.
Just because you get a ton of likes doesn't mean that a bunch of people swipe their credit cards. Like that's just sort of the reality of it. And the ones who are the most active on that stuff actually have the least to spend on it in the first place. So but that's what I think I think they're all pushing for international audiences specifically for that reason. I think that's the big sort of aha moment for all these bidders, for all these investors that have been getting into it the last year and a half or so.
Yeah.
Economic conditions are unlikely to improve for that fan base that we've cultivated. There's a limit to how many. I don't know if you saw that there's a stat that's been talked about a lot over the last 6 months or so, but it's was it the top 10% of earners in America now account for over 50% of consumer spending in America.
Yeah. So
the bottom 90% of people in this country are buying less than 50% of the stuff. So, but the problem is there's a limit to how many people. Like that's not, there's not. So, all right, let's go chase the top 10% in everyone else's countries.
Yeah.
Like that's faster and cheaper to do. So
I mean, I used to be able to offset a huge amount of my income by selling online, whether it be on eBay, whether it be on Amazon, whether it be on, any of those other places. I used to just be able to sell constantly. And now it takes months. What used to take days now takes months to sell. And oftentimes I have to lower the price. And it's because all of the people that used to buy the things that I like to sell had disposable income.
Yeah.
They don't anymore.
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real problem. A lot of people struggling out here.
It's true.
But anyway, that's unfortunately the NBA, targeted that. They targeted sort of social media relevancy, but not necessarily actual, paying fans. But that's fine because as long as they have the I keep going back to KD's comment. He's 100% right. Like those streaming contracts are locked in. Those network contracts are locked in for 11 years. 11 years.
And yeah, they made billions from it. So our nickels and dimes, they're not even going to notice.
Yeah. I mean, it's just how I'm going to talk about it's actually what my first video is on. It's actually sort of I think the alternate title for it is why fans don't matter, but it's officially called How the League Makes Money. But but I talk about this I don't get into the specifics too much about this particular point, but I just kind of mention it. But you look at the old broadcast contracts when the NBA used to be on TV, like in the 90s and stuff, and even before then. Those contracts were like 1 or 2 years at the most. Like it was 1 or 2 years worth of a broadcast, like a network contract, and then it was renegotiated. And sometimes it went up and sometimes it went down. It depended on how many people were watching, how many people liked the game and stuff. And the total of it was like $500 million was the average contract, like the average yearly contract.
Right.
And now it's, just absurd. Now it's like Amazon alone is putting in $1.8 billion a year. Like that's 16% of the entire league's revenue just from Amazon. And that's locked up for 11 years.
That's just crazy.
So like if every player quit tomorrow, and if we all turned off, if not a single human being will actually watch the NBA for the next 9 years now or 10 years or so, wouldn't matter.
Like they
Everybody would
would.
still get paid 50 something million. Everyone would still get the supermax. Everything like
Yet
so.
again, it's gross.
It's gross. It is gross. But that's the that's the stability part of the league. That's what allows them to sort of handle that. That's what allows them to weather those kinds of changes. Is that the majority of their money's locked up a decade in advance. So but that's why I think that all of this stuff will slowly happen between now and my prediction is that my very optimistic prediction. I don't want to be too doomer about it, but is that all of this stuff I think will become an issue for the renegotiation of those rights in the 2030s and 2035 or so.
Yeah.
And I think that in preparation for that, I think the next CBA in, I think 2028, the next collective bargaining agreement between the league and the players is going to start to address more and more of these things. And I think there will be a lot less pushback on some of that stuff to try to improve audience retention, to try to appeal to a larger demographic, et cetera, all that kind of stuff ahead of that 2030 something rights deal. I think we're going to start heading that way. And I think there'll be a lot less pushback because most of the big stars that have the leverage to push back on those things that the league has been pushing for years, they'll all be retired by then, or most of them will be retired.
Right.
So that's what I hope. This is NBA owners will get rid of guaranteed contracts. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that just be amazing?
It is. It's on my list of, ways to fix the NBA. I just don't see it happening.
Ruining it for the future players of the league. Amen to that. Nemo, Los Angeles.
Yep.
Buttigieg, we are on pace for players to make 82 mil a year. I mean, just, you know what? Oh, it's gross. It's gross. It's amazing how much harder people played on $2 million contracts than people play now on $52 million contracts. Like, at what point is it enough? Like,
the harsh reality is it's never enough.
It was enough when it was 2.
I mean, the reality is like that was a different planet that we lived on.
It was. That's true.
Like it's not even remotely the same thing. The thought process, the level of work ethic, accountability, integrity, like all of those things, they're just non-existent anymore, which is why you have somebody making $54 million for one season and missed 25% of it.
True. The thing, I want to just insert a little bit of nuance to what I'm saying, because I feel like I worry that maybe I'm sounding a little bit too against this stuff. But, it's economics, right? Like nothing is good or bad. Everything is a trade-off. You're choosing to do something, and in exchange, you will not have something else, right? Like super sort of basic idea. It's not like the old days were perfect in that regard. Like I do understand, like I'm not actually against the concept in general. The players had a lot less control. Like there is some truth to the player empowerment thing. This is going to be sort of a nuanced hot take, I guess. But there is some truth to that, right? Like teams, it's actually a specific mechanism called the rookie scale. It's the rookie contract. Teams were players were locked in when they get drafted. They were locked in for a longer time to their drafted team, and which is fine, except that the value that they could get, they wouldn't start getting that value until after that contract. So if they performed amazingly in the first few years, if by year 5 they're doing amazingly, they're not getting paid more in year 5 than they were in year 1. And so there was a mismatch where a lot of players would peak before, like their performance would peak before their contracts would peak. And so, if you got injured or anything happened to you, you're past your peak now. But now is when, right at that moment is when you're now able to start making, huge money, or you can, move teams, become a free agent, all that kind of stuff. So, and you had very little say in where you were traded and all that. So that led to a lot of situations where owners were unfair. You could get trapped somewhere where owners weren't trying to do anything or weren't trying to win or didn't want to spend on the team. We're
Right.
happy with, mediocre thing, just one big name to sell tickets, and that's all we're ever going to do. We're not going to build anything around it. So, for all the talk of, for example, Bulls and Sonics and, Lakers and Celtics and all that stuff, there was also a lot of, what were the Cavs doing for those years? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
they didn't want to do anything. Look what the Clippers were dealing with. You remember that whole mess? Super,
Absolutely.
super racist, like all that kind of stuff was happening, and players are somewhat stuck with it. So I understand the argument for that. Like, I don't want to pretend like everything back then was so great for the players, and now the players should return to that. My problem is that as soon as the players got so-called empowered away from the 30 owners that they believed were screwing them, all that power went to what, 15 players, 20 players that proceeded to screw the other 430.
Yeah.
I've talked about it before. We talked about the clutchonomics stuff. If you go look at the business model of this, you look at the way the teams manage their caps and who gets paid and the average length, the average duration that a non-star, like essentially a role player, but even, going down to the 10-day contracts or the sort of mid-level exception guy like the Mike Miller type guys.
Right.
They're screwed. The churn on that is crazy. They churn, what was it, it's like 60-70% of the team gets churned every year. Nobody can get a raise. There's a mechanism by which you get a raise in the NBA. You have to play for the same team for 3 years, and they just churn those guys so that nobody makes it to 3 years to get a raise,
Crazy.
so that they can have the raise, so that they can get the new supermax instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, you got guys moving around all over the place. They have no choice in the matter. They're getting paid less. They're getting paid. They used to get paid, I think it was like 23 or so percent, 23, 25% of the team cap went to role players. And now it's less than 4% of the team cap goes to those role
Oh my
players.
God.
So, like, when they talk about the player empowerment era and but the owners before and now players are free to do this stuff. No, there's like 15 guys who are free to do that stuff. 15 guys get the money, get the empowerment, can demand trades, can go in the media, can tamper with stuff. It's 15 of them. The other 435 guys are more screwed now than they ever were back then. So while I appreciate the argument, y'all didn't solve it though. You guys made it worse. I appreciate the position that a lot of those players were in before, but this was worse. This was way worse. And for the record, the proof of which is that in 2023, those 435 other players voted in the players' union to end the clutch team model so that they could have more stability and hopefully try to have longer contracts and secure those raises and stay with the franchise for longer. That's sort of starting to pan out a little bit, but it's creating a whole bunch of other problems.
Right.
But my point is, if they were so empowered, how come 435 of them voted to kill it?
It's a fair point.
Like 435 people voted to improve their situation from the 15 or so guys that had screwed them. So I don't know. It's a whole, sort of Animal Farm type thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you got rid of the farmer, now you're stuck with the pigs. So, I don't know. It's one of those history lessons, I guess, or, I'm sure there's some broad human truths in there somewhere, but it is
Well, for
gross.
sure.
It
It
is.
always comes back to gross.
Somehow, you know what? Somehow, whenever we talk about this stuff, but we'll see. He did. Yes, he did. Rap God nailed it. Rap God Reloaded says LeBron started player empowerment. And yes, Larry Bird started the empowerment. Yes, the Bird rights. That's exactly the mechanism. You get a raise if you've been with the team for 3 years and you re-sign with that team. The team can give you a raise, and that raise will not count. Technically, it counts, but it basically doesn't count against the team's taxes, their aprons, all their penalties that they have to pay for going over the cap. That's okay. That's why, incidentally, that's also why the Warriors look the way that they do. They pay a fortune in bird rights. They've kept the same guys. They've kept largely the same core for years. And so they pay them more and more and more So they have a huge payroll, but they pay less in penalties and taxes because most of them are bird rights. They kept it. They're
Yeah.
one of the sort of old-fashioned teams out there. But yeah, it was LeBron that really started that. LeBron, he didn't invent the model at all. Him and Rich Paul did not invent it. It was an idea, and there were some other people that were trying to do it, and they stole it and executed it faster and did it first and secured it for themselves, and then gained more clients and secured exactly that model for those clients. So that's what happened in Brooklyn. That's what happened in Houston. That's what like that's the Suns. I mean, that's just kind of what happened in the 2010s. That's the era. That's the time where that took over.
What was the acronym for them? CCA?
CAA was
CAA.
they're not the same CAA now that was that at the
Right,
time.
right.
I choose to believe that they were naive about what would happen because they were new to sports.
Sure.
But they had the idea. They hatched the plan. I'm going to make a whole little sort of timeline, little mini documentary about that. But yeah, it was an entertainment Hollywood agency that decided to get into sports, came up with that idea, fixed the 2006 top 2006 draftees, the draft class of 2006, for their contracts to all end at the same time with the goal of putting them on the same team. Pat Riley gets wind of that. He a couple years early, he's on record saying, and Dwayne Wade is on record confirming that he told Wade to talk to LeBron about it at the Olympics in 2008. And they had that conversation. They agreed on it. And then if you look, right, everyone, the story is that he made his difficult decision at the end of the 2009 season for 2010. He wasn't sure, but because he tried so hard and gave everything he had, and they still, Cleveland just wasn't going to get over that hump and, win a ring, decided to go to Miami and all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah, Pat Riley cleared that cap space 2 years in advance. Like, as soon as he said yes in 2008, you go look at their cap. You go look at Miami's moves. You look at Miami's cap. They cleared all of the cap space they needed to pay those three guys. Like, I mean...
Well, yeah, they had to do it beforehand. How else would they have managed that without it being completely premeditated?
Yeah, so this 2010 decision was a 2008 decision. Pat Riley cleared all of that stuff in advance for them to come there. And Melo was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
That's another kind of funny one. But yeah, they cleared all the cap space needed for that. And then sure enough, then they have their big announcement and they go to Miami. But the big joke about that, or not really joke, but the sort of the gross part about that is that LeBron signed a different contract than he was sort of supposed to under the CAA idea, which would have given the Heat more control, would have given Pat Riley more control, which is undoubtedly why Pat Riley went along with it.
No.
But he changed it up. He said he was going to do 3+1s. He's only going to sign for 3 years, not 5 years, with a 1-year extension every year thereafter. And then he started making his demands, the same thing they did in Cleveland, and started making all his demands. Pat Riley wasn't having any of it. And then he leaves. And then he goes to Cleveland with exactly the same structure. Just 1+1s, 1+1s, 1-year contract, 1-year thing. Every year he gets a raise.
Right. And again, back to gross.
Yep, there it is. 2012 is when Clutch Media started. That's right. So Rich Paul used to work at CAA when they hatched this plan to put everybody on the same team, and eventually that team became Miami. And then Rich Paul leaves CAA, takes that business model. LeBron is the one negotiating those contracts to do it that way, and he set himself up to do that specifically. But he signs that in 2010. They form it in 2012, and in 2013, the +1s begin, and so begins the era of player entitlement. There it is. Like, it's actually, so one thing I like about the NBA compared to most other industries is it's closed. You know what I mean? Like, there aren't like tons of other leagues to so it's surprisingly clean when you go look at that stuff. Like, you can't really blame a lot of other things.
Right.
Like, well, but oil from here and then shipping from there and then the geopolitics. Like, no, it's a nice closed system where you can just, oh, look, step 1, step 2, step 3. Oh, look at all the money where it goes. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, it's kind of somewhat in plain sight. But that's what gets me, though. A lot of this stuff, none of this stuff is like, I'm not theorizing about it. All of this stuff is documented. Players have talked
Right.
about it. There's been interviews. They're all on record with a lot of this stuff. Like, it's all there. I want to touch on that in a second. But it's all there. It's just that the larger sort of mainstream, for lack of a better word, but like the bigger media, the mainstream media sort of thing, like the big news networks. Well, that stuff is sports. That's not really like the kind of news that we're talking about. That's over there in sports. And then a lot of the sports media is then like, well, that's not really like players and barbershop talk. That's not really what's going on the court. So that's kind of more economics and business. That's more news. And so you end up with very few news organizations actually covering it ever. And the few that do are mostly sort of the industry, sports marketing or sports business, sports economics type publications, and those journalists, they do write about it. They do talk about it. It just never gets amplified. This thing right here, though, Rap God Reloaded, the 1+1s were started by Jordan. That is true. It was actually started by one of, it's kind of his agent, I guess, but it's not his primary agent, but it's one of his agents is the one who came up with that for him, because at that point in his career, he was done whenever he wanted to be, and he didn't want to sign anything long term with Chicago because they didn't know how long that team was going to get kept together.
Right.
So he kept doing 1+1s, but it was that guy who actually ended up going over to Clutch Sports. Then, like 12 years later, he ends up going there and he brings that into the model. It's literally the same actual human being that came up with this and negotiated it for Jordan is the one who then went and inserted that into the model and that's how then Rich Paul and LeBron James came up. And he talks about it. He is on record talking about recommending this to them. Like, it's not made up just because he went to that agency. He himself has said specifically that he recommended that strategy to them.
Now, to me, and I mean, maybe I'm wrong, is I don't think Jordan was using it as a weapon.
No, I wouldn't think so.
And I was going to say, and I think LeBron and Clutch Sports use it as a weapon.
Listen, if Jordan wanted to use that as a weapon in 97 and 98, and certainly in 96, but definitely in 98 more than everything, I mean, throw a rock at the amount of teams who would have paid him more to leave Chicago and spend a year anywhere. And he chose to stay. So, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But, he stayed with the same team for ages. Like, that's just what it is. He had his pick. It's not like he couldn't go, and it wouldn't have even been tampering. You know what I mean? Like,
no, not
he
at all.
could go at any time.
Well, and then he didn't even get paid for the Wizards years, did he? Because I thought he donated.
He donated.
His first pay to an executive, or was that to first responders, and then the second one was donating it to an executive?
The second one was to the executive. The first one was to the first responders.
Okay.
According to him, and I don't know how much I buy it, but according to him, that's why he wanted to play specifically in Washington. He wanted to play in the nation's capital in the wake of 9/11, and then donated all the money to the first responders. Could be true, could not be true.
Who knows? Who knows?
But I think it's funny because but it's just so unoriginal, you know what I mean? Like, because then LeBron when he goes to the decision, tries to be like, oh, but I did it for the Boys and Girls Club. Like, what do you mean? I did it for charity. And it's just like, man, can you just have an original thought, please? Just an original idea.
He can't. It's the reason why he wears his number. It's the reason why he stole his chalk routine. It's the reason why he made a fucking Space Jam movie. It's a reason why I think, and I still believe, and if it ever happens, I'm going to look like a fucking Nostradamus, I swear to God, his last year he's going to play for the fucking Wizards because he wants to leave his mark there where Jordan left his mark as well. The difference is he won't donate his salary and he won't carry them to being better before he gets hurt.
There's a lot to talk about in terms of donations too. If you go look back at like the Bubble Cup stuff and the BLM stuff, which for the record is not an invitation for anybody to talk about the actual politics of BLM. It's not the point.
Right.
The point is that was the particular group, that was the particular nonprofit that LeBron James had hyped up about doing all this stuff for it. If you actually look into it, I mean, at least not publicly, not a single dollar actually happened. Like it was eventually it was pressure on the league, but he, it's interesting. There's a book, I think it's, was it, I have it on the shelf somewhere, but I can't remember if it's Life in the Bubble or Bubble Cup or something, or it was Life in the Bubble. But there's a book this guy wrote, one of the journalists who was there, about all the stuff that he witnessed, that he saw behind the scenes there during in the Disney sports complex.
Yeah.
But he wrote, he had some really interesting stories in there about the walkout attempt. Kyrie Irving and some, I don't know, 50, 60 people wanted to walk out and protest and show their support and donate a bunch of money and all that kind of stuff. And LeBron was adamant that absolutely not, that they needed to play, that he didn't want to sit, he didn't want any problems, he wanted to play. He was the primary pusher of having the sports complex, the bubble season. He was the big pusher for that. He sort of hung Kyrie out to dry with it in terms of actually trying to do stuff for BLM. And then it's not till the Bucks walked off the court, then he goes and does a big show. And then he walked out of the meeting about it from the Players Union. He walked out of the Players Union meeting about it, furious that they hadn't coordinated with him first and coordinated with his press team first and stuff. And now he looks stupid. And, and then from what I understand, him and Chris Paul, who was the president of the union at the time, apparently they went out and like got on the phone with Obama about it, about like whether they should play or walk out or whatever. And so then he threatens to walk out now that he's, so he can be the face of standing up for BLM and all. And then I guess, according to them, Obama told them to, well, you actually do more if you stay visible and put pressure on the league to do stuff. And so then they start that fund where a bunch of the owners put in, I think it ended up being $325 million to go towards BLM and related stuff.
Right.
Not a single dollar of that actually came from any player or even a players group. That came from the owners, that came from the teams. That didn't come from, so like not a single dollar from, at least not publicly, from, I don't know what he does in private, but I know that, Kyrie donated a bunch. A lot of guys donated a bunch, but LeBron just put pressure on them to do $325 million. And for the record, I can't remember how much it was, but it was something close to that. That the Jordan brand just quietly did with no controversy whatsoever. He just quietly gave, as much or more to exactly that cause. And then he privately also donated a whole bunch to a bunch of causes related to that. And quietly, very little fanfare about it. The organizations put out a little bit, like thank yous and stuff, and, named him and stuff, but he didn't. No press releases from Jordan, no press releases from the Jordan brand. So like, I don't know. So like, even on that front, it's like, one looks mighty charitable and the other one does not. The other one looks like it's trying to just, like this gentleman saying here, or lady, sorry, I don't know. But I'm gonna assume gentleman that, diva energy. It just wants to be the face of it.
Well, philanthropy is interesting because, first of all, if you're a millionaire, being a philanthropist is just in your best financial interest. Donating to charity gets you tax breaks and tax incentives. Some of the most horrible people on the planet have been huge philanthropists.
Sure.
Because it benefits them.
But
I was going to say Rockefeller was a huge philanthropist and did terrible fucking things. Jeffrey Epstein was a huge philanthropist because when you do a lot of good, people stop looking at all of the bad shit that you do.
Yeah. But it's
It's just
very
the reality of it.
the list is very short for people who get a reputation or who cultivate an image of philanthropy while not doing it. Like at least those
Mhm.
guys actually wrote a check.
Yeah.
But like this guy didn't even write a check.
Nope.
He's just getting like, oh yeah, he's done so much. Like what did he do? Wait, I missed it. Where was it though? Like you at least have to actually give the check to get any of that. But somehow, and then meanwhile, Kyrie's endorsement value goes down, but he's still giving. And Kevin Love gave, like all these guys gave, and
Right.
one guy didn't, but then one guy, threw a tantrum until they let his press team to make sure everybody coordinates with his press team instead of doing it by themselves to make sure that he can, come out as the face of doing that. And it's like, but you didn't do it though. Why are you trying to be the face of it? You didn't do it. You had every opportunity to do it. All the other people were doing it. You chose not to do it. You berated them for not doing it. You threw a tantrum and walked out of their meeting. But now you're going to be the face of doing it? How's that work? And then at the end of that whole affair, everybody else has to give $325 million, but you don't have to give anything? Like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, media manipulation can make you look anyway.
It is. And I don't think, to be fair, I don't think he has to. I don't think he's under any obligation to give anybody a dime for anything or to help anybody
not
to
at
do
all.
anything. Like no one has to be charitable. That's not the point. That Jordan gave and he didn't, whatever. Like nobody has to give anything. Nobody should ever feel pressured to give. If you want to give, you care about it, you do. If you don't, that's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own things to care about. But making such a big deal and like all this sort of Machiavellian maneuvering to try to get as much, good publicity out of not doing it, that's weird. Like just quietly don't do it. Lots of people quietly didn't do it. Just be one of those people. Just quietly don't do it. Or quietly do it.
For sure.
Or loudly do it. But it's weird to loudly not do it. That's awkward.
I mean, I've heard, people knock other people for saying, oh, well, is it as generous or kind-hearted if you want the praise that goes along with it? If you're writing the fucking check, I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get, the goodwill that goes along with it, that's great. But like, so a cause that's incredibly important to me is the Brain Injury Association of America, because the reality is the things that they do probably helped save my life. So it's incredibly important to me. If somebody wants to write a huge check to them and then receive the glory from writing that check, great. They still benefited from it.
Yeah.
I think it's better when people do it silently. I think it does mean more. I mean, when you give to get, it kind of negates the giving because you yourself are benefiting from it. But as long as the organization benefits, like I'm not going to belittle anyone for giving. But you should at least give. If you want the praise, you should at least give.
I think so. I think it's weird to glorify and then not actually give. That's weird. Glorify my giving that I don't do. Like what is that? That's a new one. Maybe I don't know. Maybe other people have done that too, but this is the first time I'd ever seen that. But there's a lot of stuff. That book is really cool about it. But there's a bunch of I did a bunch of research into it just out of curiosity after reading that book, and I was just, each step that you go down further and further into these topics, the more gross it gets.
It does.
So,
however, I will say that since starting this channel, I've just done research on various things. Like before I make a video, if I'm going to make a video glorifying somebody, I'm like, let's make sure I'm glorifying them for the appropriate reasons. So like I started looking into Jordan's charitable donations and the things that he does that if you didn't look into it, you'd never know he did.
Oh yeah.
Like the number of medical clinics and facilities that he's just paid for in North Carolina is insane. And you'd never know about it if you didn't look into it, because he's not looking for the praise. He's thinking, these people need help. I have the means to offer this. Why shouldn't I do it? And it
Sure,
was
they.
just, and it was time and time and time again. Like, it wasn't just one incident, it's been many incidents.
I'm sure that clinic has better health outcomes than that school does.
It does.
I'm sure they're actually doing something with it.
When I started looking into that school, I was like,
It's oh yeah, that's
I
a
was like,
good one.
I'll give you points for like trying, I guess, but like obviously there's been no follow through. There's been no accountability. There's no, if I've, dedicated this money and this time, this school needs to be doing better. And that hasn't been the case at all. I mean, the last thing that I looked at is I think the entire 8th grade class couldn't pass the math exam. And I'm like, well, that's just falling short on so many levels and
Yeah.
nobody holding them to a standard.
Yeah, and amazingly, the state is supposed to hold them to that standard. And
Absolutely.
I don't know.
And it just feels like the ball has been dropped by everyone. I mean, if I'm going to put my name on something, excuse me, which I don't do lightly, they better be living up to the standard that I hold. Fuck the state. Fuck what anybody else thinks. Everybody in that school that I'm putting my name on better be passing. Or there better be a plan in place if they're not passing to get them to passing.
You'd think, and you hear it around sometimes. Like I see the comments sometimes when that topic comes up. A lot of people is like, "Oh, yeah, but it's a school for but the kids suck. The kids are like trouble kids. They're bad kids. Discipline problems and all this kind of thing." And it's like, yeah, but it's not compared. That's the gross part, is that it's not, the performance metrics are not compared to regular schools. I know these are like problem kids that
Right.
have whatever they got going on at home, or whatever's going on. Discipline problems and learning problems and that kind of those kinds of hardships that most of us hopefully are lucky enough not to deal with. Some of us have dealt with it, and that sucks. But the metric is not comparing that to some wealthy school with kids with no
Right.
problems and happy homes and nice neighborhood and all the event. It's the metrics are those schools compared to other schools like it.
Right.
It's all the sort of disciplinary schools, or what do they call them? There's an official name for that. I can't remember.
I
But,
can't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, those kinds of sort of low key juvie schools. I mean, that's what we called it. We had one a few streets down from our house when I was growing up. Everybody just called it the juvie school. So I don't know what the actual word is. But regardless, the metric is comparing those against each other, and his grossly underperforms. Which I don't necessarily blame him. I mean, he's not teaching them or anything. He's not doing that stuff. But like, what's going on? And why are you so keen to put your name on it?
Well, that's where
you want all the credit, but none of the results. Like, you're not doing it.
Don't put your name on it. If you're not going to stand behind it, if you're not going to make sure that it's being a successful place of learning, then don't put your name on it. And I am an individual. I went to an alternative high school.
That's the word for it.
Because I was a fuck up. I was going to say I had dyslexia growing up. And the reality is, like, that doesn't merit special treatment for me. I mean, maybe special treatment in regards to like tutoring to better education to helping me, fight dyslexia or whatever it is. But I need to be held to a higher standard. If I'm not doing it on my own, then somebody needs to toe the line with me.
No, I don't, just out of curiosity, how many kids were in your class in that alternative school?
One, me.
Nice. You got me beat. I actually went to one of those schools, I never thought I would be talking about it on YouTube, but I went to one of those schools. I ended up going there my senior year. I went to a little boarding school, and my graduating class was 4.
Nice.
And I was top of my class, I'll have you know.
The place that I went to, which does not exist anymore, was called contract-based education. I only went to school 2 days a week for an hour each day, and they would just give me all of the work that I wanted to do.
Oh, that's nice.
And like, there was a teacher in the room with me, and he would say, if you need assistance with anything, let me know. Well, I didn't need any assistance. So it was basically just, hand me a giant fucking stack.
There you go.
You know what's funny? So Nemo, Los Angeles, the actual campus that I was on was continuation school, and I was in like a subsect of that school, but CBE was on the continuation school campus. So it's funny that you say that.
That's cool for you though, man.
I was able to do as much work as I wanted to do as quickly as I wanted to do it. Now I understand not everyone is in the capacity to do that. Thankfully, I've always been intelligent. I've always understood school. My problem was you're taking 6 weeks to do something I learned in 2 fucking days, and now I'm bored, so I'm going to fuck off. That was my trouble with school. So
but that's what I don't understand about it. Is like mine was similar, but mine was boarding school. So like we lived in it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
There was 12 to 15 of us, depending on which month, but it's 12 to 15 of us living in there. And it was great. It really worked for me. They did a fantastic job. Teachers were amazing. Everybody was amazing. I have nothing but good things to say about the staff and the people there. Some of the other kids and stuff, I don't know. We were all problem kids. We worked it out, but we had our own, adventures that I'll never talk about on YouTube. But we got into it, on different stuff. But regardless, it helped. It helped enormously. But the crazy part about it, I felt like it was like every 2 months, every 3 months, somebody was coming around for like a tour and checking out the facilities and chatting with us and sort of looking for signs of any problems. And they were always showing like our scores, our test scores, our stuff. Like everybody, the state was involved in making sure that everything was good. They oversee those boarding schools, and they did.
Yeah.
We can argue about the quality of the oversight, but they were there. Like I remember them being there. And so, when I read that stuff about the school in Ohio, I'm just like, what is Ohio doing? Like, do they not send people to these things? Like, we got people showing up every couple months to, make sure everything was good. And at the end of each term, we had like trimesters. At the end of each term, all our results were sent in to the state and stuff. So like, how does this happen? How does this happen? And how does it continue to happen? And if that's happening, why are you trumpeting your name on it? Like I'd be embarrassed to put my name on that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. So the school that I went to was held to a more stringent standard because I only went to school 2 days a week for an hour each day. So like they're having to make sure, because that particular branch of education was being funded by the state and potentially even the federal government. So they need to make sure I'm not just fucking off each of those days for that hour each day, that I am learning, that I am making progress, that I am advancing and taking advantage of this educational resource, which I was. But I distinctly remember, just like you said, there was an individual that I went to that school for 1 year. In that 1 year, I completed 4 years of regular school. Now, I'm not saying that to fucking brag on me. It was that system that allowed me to do that. But in that time, there was an overseer, an adjudicator that came in and sat down with me and said, walk me through your day. What do you do for the hour that you're here? What do you do when you go home? How are you getting help when you need it? Like, there was oversight. There were people that were invested in that program, I think partially because they wanted it to succeed, because they saw that people went through it and were able to be successful and went on to get their high school diploma or get a GED rather than just dropping out and, becoming whatever. But they did. It was upheld. It was enforced. Like if I had went in and just fucked off and was just using it as a means to not go to school, there would have been ramifications for that. So where are the ramifications for those students? Where are the ramifications for those teachers, for that principal, for that superintendent? Like, there needs to be some accountability going on there. The reality is kids will just be fucking kids. If you give them the structure that they can fuck off in, they're going to.
Choloso's got a good point here too. Kobe gave so much and didn't want to be glazed for it. That's a great comment.
No.
That's a fantastic comment. It's true, man. I mean, there's a reason they got murals of him and paintings of him all over the city. I mean, he did a lot. He did a lot for his community. He did a lot, and he didn't get a whole lot of credit for it. He didn't, he didn't brag about it enormously. He didn't, not everything has his name on it and stuff. But I don't know. But it's back to what it's back to what we were talking about, earlier in the show. I think it's just this, I think it's just the type of people, the type of person that we're talking about. It's the same as my money, my incentives, my stuff doesn't come from the fans. So who cares about the fans? Who cares if I show up for the fans? Who cares if I play well for the fans? Who cares? It's better to go on Twitter and argue with fans and all that stuff. And then you look at their other ventures and it's the same story. It's, well, what do I get out of it? How can I sort of leech as much benefit for myself while delivering the least possible results, even for those who are the most affected by it, the ones who spend their money or put their kids there, or the kids who are in that school. Like, it's not, there's not an whatever, 8th grader, 9th grader or something, right? There's no kid out there who can't read, who it's his fault that he never learned to read. Like, the world has failed him. Someone has failed him. So you put your name on an institution meant to help him, and then don't even try to make sure that it helps him, but you want to trumpet it as this sign of why you should win a Nobel Prize or something. Like, that's crazy. Like, but that's that same behavior is what ends up on the court. And you notice like chat's talking about here, guys like Kobe and Kyrie and stuff, like, for whatever their flaws, whatever their stuff, they play hard for their teammates. They mostly show up for their fans. They give to charity, they give to stuff, and then they go and try to pick good ones or try to get involved in that stuff, where they go help out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just two types of people. You know what I mean? Like, so it's crazy. I think the contrast is stark, but it tells you, I think, something about the the mindset that has sort of now become rampant at the top tier of the NBA. It's not the whole NBA, by the way.
No.
We're talking about maybe 12, 15 players, but they're the biggest names. They're the big stars. They're the ones that people buy tickets to see and then don't get to see.
Well, and I genuinely believe that, the saying, it only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch. I believe it. Just as it takes one person, if Jordan came into the league today, I guarantee you a year from now, the league looks entirely different.
Yeah.
However, if you have that negative influence, people are infected by role modeling more than they even know. If somebody demonstrates a behavior, especially somebody in a position of a power or respect, if they model a behavior and you see it long enough, you're surrounded by it long enough, it will affect you. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, I think it actually goes, I would take it a step further too. I think people look at that behavior, they look at what people do, they idolize some of this stuff, and then they want to go be like that or do what they do, or attack their own things in life the way that their hero attacks whatever he's doing, like in this case the NBA. The way he makes his money, or the way he negotiated these contracts, or the way he's about his own success first, and whatever, go to where it's good, whatever lessons you can kind of take from that, people take that and they go do it in their own lives, and that's kind of fine. But I think I would go an extra step and say that before they choose to go do that in their own lives, they look at what the reception is. That guy goes and does something, and what do people say about him? How is he treated? How do people view him as a result of him doing that? Because plenty of crappy people have gone and done crappy things and then been excoriated for it, especially throughout sports.
Absolutely.
Players who played dirty in every sport, players who played dirty, players who cheated the system, players who did all sorts of stuff. And if the fan bases or the of those leagues or of those sports or of that team or whatever, or if the guy's own fan base or something, if people were upset about it, or he lost value, or he lost social value, then I feel like less people then emulated that. They're like, oh yeah, well, I see why he did that. That makes sense. But I don't want to get destroyed by everybody. I don't want to get fired. I don't want everybody to hate me. So I'm not going to do that. So I honestly, I blame sort of the eternal defenders of this behavior, the quote fanboys, but not just for LeBron, just for this kind of behavior.
For sure.
This approach to the game, this approach to the sport, this approach to careers, this like that's a huge part, I think, of that reason is you see, someone sees that and sees that the person is celebrated and sees that the person is celebrated specifically for doing that. Well, then what incentive is there for them not to do it? They think, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. Look, everybody is championing that. Everybody's rooting for that. I guess I should be trying to do that.
Absolutely. Shame is a powerful tool, and it's a tool that has been erased from our society. I smoked for 17 years. Shame is part of the reason why I quit. Because it had gotten to a point where you were shamed within society for that behavior, for that action.
Yeah, but look at this. I mean, these things are celebrated. It's smart.
I know.
That's smart basketball. That's smart to load manage. That's actually, well, why shouldn't they? Like, of course they should do that for the playoffs. And then, of course, they lose in the playoffs. And like, okay, well, okay, how many times is this not going to actually deliver the results that you claim it's going to deliver before you stop championing it? You say, oh, but it should. He should be looking out for number one, right? Like, oh, but he got his money. But that's smart because that team wasn't going to do this. So of course he's right to just leave it and all stuff. And then the balls to then turn around and complain that like, well, we just didn't have enough time together as a starting five. We didn't have enough time together as a roster. And it's like, well, whose fault is that? Like,
that's the one.
You're the one who kicked him out.
Yeah, like, we never had time to build team chemistry.
You churn 70% of the roster and then complain that you didn't have much time together. Like, well, I don't know what was wrong with that 70%. And like, and why did you dump them? Oh, were they all about to get a raise? Were they all about, were half of them about to get bird rights and that would cut into your raise? Oh, yeah, no, that's the problem. You guys didn't have enough time together. Like, for what? Like, was it $4 million? Like for a $4 million raise? Yep. To go up from, whatever, 47 to $51 million. Like, you're going to churn, 30-40% of the roster just for that? Yeah. Well, you're showing 70% of the roster, but 30 to 40% of them, are about to get the bird rights. So you dump them, and then you got people defending it. And then you got people like, "Oh, that's smart though," because yeah, he should get his money. He's the best player on that team. Well, yeah, by design. Nobody else is allowed to develop on that team. Nobody else is allowed to have any security on that team.
That's why I always say sports is a reflection of our society.
Well. Not to get romantic, but I firmly believe baseball is the reflection of America. I think that's been true for 125 years, sir.
Probably true.
Baseball is always ahead of whatever's about to happen. Whatever's going on in baseball, within 5 years, that's what's happening in the world. That's what's happening in America. Somehow, that's always the case. You look at like the Moneyball stuff and all that thing, and then soon we're in, 5 years after the sort of Moneyball era, suddenly it all becomes, everything is data-driven this, data-driven that. Yep. Baseball was way ahead.
It's true.
So I
all became about the analytics.
Yeah, so in terms of reflecting life, like, man, baseball reflects America. It's just always been the case. So I don't know. I don't know what basketball is reflecting these days. But
whatever it is, it's not good. Anyway, I have to cut this off. I've been doing this for over 3 hours.
Yeah, that is a lot. I've been around here for a little while.
I am I'm gonna go eat something and relax. But this was a great show. I certainly appreciate you joining me on it, and I'm definitely down to do it again if you are.
Oh, anytime. I very much appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Cool. All right. Well, I will check all you guys later, and I appreciate you guys tuning in.
All right, chat. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the kind words. Appreciate it. Good points being made. I like it.
Absolutely. All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right. You as well.